Hello, hello, hello. Oh, are we back? Okay, it looks like we're back. Looks like we're back. I can be less angry now. I don't know, the mic just suddenly decided that it was simply not going to. It simply was not going to. It would not do it. It simply would not do it. I don't know what happened because like I didn't mute the source in OBS and I didn't disconnect the mic from anything. It just gave up. It just gave up. I like unplugged it and plugged it back in, but it just like gave up. Very strange. Very strange. I hope that is not a common occurrence here at Eggy. But yes, good morning to Sundarathalos, and good morning to Penbu, and good morning to Lars, and good morning to Newcomb Productions. Hello, Marie. Hello, Mario. I don't know, I keep thinking about what's that one video? It's like, here's my brother Mario with a big informazione, and then Mario's just like, no, it was Luigi. Here's my brother Luigi with a big pile of informazione, and then Luigi's like, hello, Mario. I just think about hello, Mario a lot. But yes, the mic did not want to awak. It did not want to awak. I don't know. It awaked when I started stream. I'm assuming. I think. Like I think it was working when I plugged it when I like was making sure everything was live. Very, very strange. I hope this is not a common occurrence. Because if it is, I will be very dissatisfied. But yes, let me check up on... So I mentioned earlier that I have an IKEA furniture. I ordered one furniture from IKEA. Technically, actually 3 furnitures because I ordered I ordered a bunch of other attachments for the furniture, and it says it's on its way. But it's out for delivery, but they didn't give a time. So hopefully it will not be during the stream. But if it is, it could happen. It could happen. I might have to get out of bed here to go pick up my IKEA furniture. I purchased a Calyx shelving unit with 6 inserts and 2 Druna boxes. Technically I'll have 3 because I actually already have one here. But then I ordered 2 more because they're like $5 each. They're kind of just cardboard boxes that have like a fabric lining, like a fabric coating, but that's okay. That's okay. They're sturdy enough. They will do the job. But yeah, it's been a weird week. I didn't get to exercise at all this week. Like I straight up have not had the time to exercise. Like, between like I have to do singing march stuff, and then I had to like go out the other day for job interview, and then I had to like I've had so many errands, and then now I have to build an IKEA shelf. Like I had so much to do this week that I'm like, I don't have time for exercise. I have not exercised once. Like, I'm not gonna count walking around. Will you get a Nintendo Switch too? Good morning, new to here. I'll probably not immediately, probably. Unless there's a game, unless they, like, announce, like, I don't know. Like, unless they announce, like, a very promising sounding game or something super appealing to me, probably not immediately. Usually I'm, like, late to every console, so maybe I might give it, like, a year or something. Probably not at launch. I'll probably wait a little bit and then get it. So, like, if it launches in the middle of the year, I might, like, wait for Christmas or something, you know? Whereas, like, yeah, usually, I don't know, I can't think of any... I don't think I've ever bought a console at launch. Like, I feel like I've almost always waited, like, at least a year. Like, I think I bought my 3DS... I think I bought my 3DS, like, 2015. Like, it was very late into it. And then I bought my Nintendo Switch in 2019, like, end of 2019. So, yeah, like, usually I'm at least a year or 2 late. Probably best to wait anyway for them to smooth out any issues. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think the thing is that, like, with the Switch, I remember when it came out, it was like, everyone was, you know, chilling and playing Breath of the Wild, but I was also extremely unemployed at the time. So I'm like, okay, I don't have the money for this, even if I wanted to. And then it was like a few years later, and my parents are like, what do you want for Christmas? And I'm like, you know what? Now that you mention it. So, yeah, it was a Christmas present in 2019, which is probably, end of 2019 was probably the ideal time to buy a Nintendo Switch, because it meant I had it for 2020. But yeah, that was it. That was the, yeah, I guess I was like at least 2 years into it. I don't know, it's weird because it felt like it had been around for longer, but it had only been about 2 years at that point. But yeah, probably not at launch, but probably eventually. Especially if if it ends up being backwards compatible, you know? Like, but yeah, I don't know what kind of game they would have to promise me in order to make me buy it though. I don't know, maybe like the next, I don't know, Style Savvy 5, or like, I don't know, another Animal Crossing maybe? Another Katamari. Actually, they technically did announce another Katamari, but it's for like Apple Arcade, which although it seems that they were announcing like two things. They only like, so some people are like maybe they have something for the Switch 2 planned, but what else could get me to buy a new Switch? Maybe if they expand Nintendo Online to also have like GameCube games, because they got like a lot of Nintendo 64 that they added like, what was it, like last year or the year before. So maybe if they start adding GameCube games, maybe, because they're probably like far enough into the past that they can do that. Maybe I would consider that too. But yeah, it's far enough into the future that I don't think about it right now. I do not think about the Nintendo Switch 2. I simply do not think about it. I do not have a lot of thoughts. But yeah, my brain is too occupied with too many other things. Like singing March, and also IKEA furniture, and also getting a job. Whack. Good morning, Zully. Yeah. At least one thing I can say now is that, like, because remember how, like, when I mentioned, like, in 2017, I was very unemployed, it was so in 2017, because basically in 2016, I was in high school, right? And then I finished high school, and then I had a job when I was in high school, right? I had, like, a part-time job I did on, like, weekends and evenings. And then basically I got fired at, like, right as I was starting college. And then I had a seasonal job during December of that year, and then I had nothing else. I had, well, very little else. I had, like, one thing that gave me, like, $20 a week, pretty much. I had, like, very little else. So, for most of 2017, there's a lot of things that I'm like, yeah, I could have done that at the time, but I straight up just didn't have the money. Like, the income was not there. I was in school. I had a very busy school schedule. So it's not just like I didn't have time to hunt for jobs. It's that I was busy enough that most jobs are like, your availability isn't very good. So, yeah. They have the Nintendo store, so probably not backwards compatible hardware costs. No, but like for cartridges, right? For cartridges. Like, aren't the cartridges gonna be like backwards compatible or something? Not that you can put Nintendo's 2 Switch stuff in a Switch, but like that you'd be able to put a Switch game into a Nintendo Switch 2 and it would still run fine. That's the impression I was under. But yeah. What did you focus on in political science? Whoa, okay, someone's been you've been doing your VOD homework. Again, my major was kind of just all over the place. So, like, to say I focused on something, a lot of it was pretty much just, like, trying to get all... it's pretty much trying to get all the political science concepts into you, because you had to balance this with, like, international relations and language courses. So I can't say there was, like, one particular focus, because, again, it was just kind of trying to... Yeah. It said physical and digital Switch games will be playable on the Switch too. Yeah. I mean, again, if they're using kind of a similar shape of cartridge, it's like the DS and 3DS, right? Like, the 3DS cartridges look a little different, but other than that, like, you know, you can still fit a DS game into a 3DS and you can still play it. So, like, I don't see why if they're using similar cartridges for Switch and Switch 2, like, I don't see why they wouldn't do that, you know? But, yeah. I don't know. For now, I simply do not think about it. The Switch 2 is a problem for future Eggy. International relations like area studies? No, international relations. Again, I don't think I ever heard the term area studies when I was there. Do they call it that? Do they call it that? I don't remember ever hearing that word. But yeah, no, I can't say I had like a specific, like, because again, if you want to study politics, you go into political science, right? Whereas my major, I don't know, it is very much the, like, you know how they say, like, with like you have like liberal arts major where it's like a bit of everything. I felt like it was kind of, my major was kind of like that, except with social sciences, not social sciences, but like specifically like, you know, politics and international relations and languages. Like it was like that, you know, it was kind of a mix, a smorgasbord. I like that word. It's a smorgasbord. I think I learned that word when I was a kid and it just never left my brain. It's a smorgasbord. Like, I don't know why I remember learning that word. I think I was at like a summer camp. And I think there was like, they had a point in the day in the schedule. I think I remember seeing the schedule. And they had a point in the day that they called it a smorgasbord. Like, basically it was just kind of like, it was like not necessarily free time, but a time where, like, you know, there was like multiple activities you could choose from, and like you would choose one of them, right? So it was like, you know, sort of free time in the sense that you got to choose how to spend it, but like not actually free time. But they call it smorgasbord. I remember as a kid like just being like, a smorgasbord? What's a smorgasbord? A smorgasbord. Is political science not liberal arts? I was under the impression liberal arts had like a bigger variety of stuff. I mean, I guess it can contain. I feel like liberal arts is more like a free form kind of major. Yeah, area studies was pre-game theory. Probably why I never heard it. I've never heard that word before. Like, yeah. Again, international relations was probably not my favorite part. Like, again, the international relations courses. Did you write an honors thesis? No, mine was like a class-based thing. It was a class-based major. Usually, I don't know what it's like in other countries. Actually, now that I think of it, is it common to have a bachelor's thesis? Because, like, I know here in Eggy country in Canada, you have to do a master's. Well, not necessarily, actually. Usually, most master's and PhD programs, you have to do a thesis. But for bachelor's programs, I don't know if I know anybody who did a bachelor's thesis. Good morning, Mads. Good morning. Hello, Eggy. Yeah, I feel like it's very uncommon. But I know in other countries I've heard of people talking about their like bachelor's thesis. Here it is mandatory. Interesting. Because yeah, here it's more like class and credits based. So basically, like the school just basically gives you like, again, it's a bit like high school where they're like, okay, here's all the classes you have to take, plus these, you know, you get a certain amount of electives. But usually there might be like final assignments for like individual classes, but like you don't have like an actual thesis. So what was your degree called? International Studies in Modern Languages. That was a degree. I thought in Canada you have to do an honors thesis or a capstone project to go to grad school. Bro thinks I was gonna go to grad school. LMAO. No, I mean, I maybe considered it for 5 minutes, and then I looked at my grades and I was like, no, I don't think no, it's not gonna happen. Like, I have grades. If I wanted to go to grad school, I would have had to lock in way earlier, you know? And also maybe not go to school during a pandemic. Probably that too. But yeah, both bachelor and master. Bachelor thesis is 12 credits out of like 180. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because we don't, maybe some programs do, but I feel like it's like here it's more like I feel like bachelor's is like bachelor's is where they just basically dump a bunch of information into your brain so that when you do go to do your master's or you do go to do your PhD, like you now have like the groundwork to get everything else done. Because like you can't have a research-based bachelor's because they have to actually teach you how to do stuff first. You know? It is mandatory too if I'm understanding what you're talking about. Yeah, here in Canada, I don't think there's a lot of programs. Like, a bachelor's thesis, I feel, is very uncommon here. Master's and PhD theses? Very common. Not 100% common, though. Like, for instance, Eggy sister, she is a music major, and she's finishing up her master's. But her master's, again, it was like her bachelor's. Like, it was credit-based. Like, it was class-based. Like, she didn't have to do a thesis, which makes sense for her program because like she is playing the flute and she was studying performance. And to be honest, when it comes to performance, a lot of it is more about doing than about studying, right? Like she said, like, I think if you're going into like music education or like pedagogy or something like that, that you could do like a thesis-based master's degree, which makes sense because like, again, like that's something that is studyable, whereas performance, it's just like, you know, I guess maybe you could try to like develop new techniques or something for your instrument, but like, again, it's just not something that lends itself very well to doing a thesis, right? Because like, again, performance is about how well are you actually doing the thing, as opposed to like, you know, how much do you know about the thing. Yeah. On that note, doing your PhD requires you to do your master's first over here. Yeah. It's the same here. You have to do master's and then PhD. Although some people, I think there are some programs where it kind of fuses them together. Or like where it's like more intensive, but it like takes like a semester out. I don't know. There are some like in specific fields, there are some specific programs that get really specific about, you know, shuffling stuff around. So you can get like, technically you can get both your master's and your PhD within like a shorter period of time if you meet some specific qualification or something. Yeah, you can do research on interpretation styles, of course. Yeah, I just think it like for music performance, when it comes to something that's like more about doing than it is about like, I guess, like studying, then it's like trying to do a research-based master's on that is kind of so yeah, I can understand why her program specifically would be like class work based as opposed to like, and I think she actually had to do teaching as well, a little bit. I think that was also a part of her master's. So it's not like there was no like it's not like it was only playing, but like, yeah, like performance, again, it's a master's in music performance. So like, yeah, it's gonna be about performing. It's gonna be about performing. But yeah, here in Canada, I don't know, maybe I can ask some of my friends, but like, I don't think I know of anybody who did a bachelor's thesis. Yeah. It could be argued that studies based on performance should not be a part of university. Again, yeah, that's a whole Canada debate. Well, the thing is that like, it's music, right? It's music. And it's probably the same thing for people who are taking like theater or people who are taking like, you know, any visual arts as well, where it's like, okay, it's not just about how well you can analyze the thing. Sometimes it's also about like, again, it's music performance specifically, not necessarily just music in general. Because like I said, like if you're doing like specific like studies in like pedagogy or like, you know, music teaching or something. Like if you specify, or music history, I think is another one that can be research based or thesis based. But like you, if you're doing it in performance, then it's like, okay, well, yeah. When I looked at master's degree for Simon Fraser in Alberta, Calgary Uni, or UBC, it's 30 credits, 18 for thesis, and 12 for approximately 3 courses. If you go course base, you take 2 more. Yeah, I've never seen a bachelor's thesis, but I've seen honors and specializations. Yeah, again, I just don't think I know anybody who had to do any kind of thesis work unless they went and did a master's. At least for my university. Maybe it's common for other majors, like maybe for like, no, but like I feel like if I know enough people who took like various STEM related stuff that I feel like if they like if they did a bachelor's thesis, I would have known about it. Like I would have heard them talking about it, you know? Like it might just not be, maybe it's just my school or maybe it's just my province where it's not a thing, but yeah. It might be that Europe is very different. I mean, I know that like, okay, I learned this, how do I say this without doxing myself? Okay. So, a few years ago, oh god, it's been a few years ago at this point. I had a job, and my job it was like a short-term job, and it was to basically process and assess applications for a certain, you know, go teach in Japan program. So basically one of the documents that we had to look over was university transcripts, because you had to have at least a bachelor's degree to apply for this, and it didn't really matter if it was a bachelor's degree in what, but one of the things that I had to do, yes, was look at a lot of people's like university transcripts. And for the most part, like for the universities within Canada, because all of our applications came from within the country, right? So for universities that were in Canada, we had like a spreadsheet open, because the thing is that every university here does their like GPA just slightly differently. Like some of them use like the like 4.3 GPA, some of them use like a 10-point score, some of them use like a like I think some of them use a like 4-point, like again, every school seems to do it slightly different. So we had like a spreadsheet open of like, okay, this is how this school does their numbers, and like this is what it equates to, so that we could like actually compare like the actual numbers against other applications. But yeah, the thing is that we only had that for universities that were within Canada, right? For people who were like, you know, they're Canadian citizens, but they went and studied somewhere else, I had to figure out how like the schools, like how do they grade things in France? How do they grade things in the Philippines? Like I had to like learn the grading systems of multiple countries, just because like either people who had like, you know, lived abroad and then moved to Canada, or people who had like, you know, they're Canadian but they like studied abroad or something. Like it was one of those things where I was like, oh, this is a mess. Oh, this is a mess. Yeah. Engineering tends to do projects. Here, project-based theses also have scientific evaluations, etc. Yeah. Why would they need to talk about their niche bachelor's thesis? Well, no, but it doesn't have to be talking about the thesis itself, but just talking about like, oh, yeah, I gotta work on my thesis kind of thing. I never heard anybody say that when I was in school. Again, unless they were in a master's or PhD program. Yeah. Are Uniprints the calculations equivalent on the transcript of our records? Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely some schools actually especially if people had to like if they had studied abroad, if they had requested a transcript in English, they would actually like try to convert it to like the American like 4-point GPA, which was kind of useful. But some of them, like for instance, we had somebody who had like, there was one application where the transcript was from the Philippines. It was from a school in the Philippines. And I learned that the Philippines kind of does their grading backwards, at least at the time that this person went to school. I don't know if it's different now. But basically the Philippines okay, so here, you know how it's like, let's say you're, like, for instance, my university did things on like a 10-point scale. So it's like, 1 is the lowest you can get, 10 is the highest, right? Your score is probably gonna be somewhere in between there, right? Whereas in the Philippines, it went on a scale of 1 to 4. However, 4 was actually the lowest and 1 was the highest. So if you look at a transcript, at first it was like, how did this person pass? Because, like, in my mind, I was like, lower number bad, big number good, right? But then I'm like, how did this person pass? Because you're looking at their scores for their courses, and there's like 1.3, 1.4, and you're like, how did they pass? And then you like look it up and you're like, oh yeah, okay, this actually the Philippines does theirs like backwards. Yeah, not just Philippines. Our scores go from 1 to 4.3 and you fail past 4. Oh, so it's like the American system, but backwards. With 1 being the highest. Yeah, I work in college admissions, figuring out these things is my job. Yeah, well, it's just like... Because I remember, I think initially... Also, there was one from France. Okay, I know there is at least one French eggplant, probably. How does France... I don't understand the French grading system. Because I know they also explained it to us as an example. When I went for the orientation for when I applied for my international exchange, I remember they explained to us like the grading systems in some other countries, because they were talking about like, oh yeah, this is a process for like when you exchange your, like when you come back and you have to like, get the credits all in line. And they use France as an example because apparently France, it goes from like, the grading system goes from like 1 to 16 or something. But then like, it's very rare to get something over an 11. Like something like that. Basically, it's like, because like, again, here I feel like, okay, in Canada, like, again, if let's say your class uses like a percentage, right? Or like even like a 10-point scale, right? Like there's no curve to it, right? Like, it's like, okay, the passing grade is here, but everything past there, like, every point is, like, every number is kind of equal, right? Whereas it felt like in France, it's like, I think it was like an 11. Basically, they don't use the whole scale, is what I'm saying. Like, they have the whole scale, but they don't use it, which confuses me. I don't understand. If there's anybody from France or who has studied in France, please explain it to me. Please explain it to me. Yeah. Uni just stops after 4.3 usually, because 4.5 and higher is just a fail. Yeah, again, like, to be fair though, I can't say that the American 4.3 GPA system makes much sense to me either. It feels like a very arbitrary number. Like, I know some schools use like 4 points, which made sense. Like, that made sense to me. I don't know why you would add the extra 0.3. I don't know what that does for anybody. I guess maybe if you have a 4.3 GPA, then that means that you're smart enough to figure out how to calculate this on the fly, but yeah. 0 to 15 with 0 included. Yeah, but I know apparently it's very rare to actually get anything above, I think it was above 11 is what we were told. Like, it was like, basically it's like, there's like a curve somewhere where like, not everything, yeah. And that converts to 1.0 to 6.0 on your certification. What? Yeah. Germany is 1 to 6 for the full range. But is it like forwards or backwards? Because I know Zelly had mentioned earlier. So is it like, is the highest score 1 or is the highest score 6? I do occasionally see Canadian transcripts like egg. I mean, the other thing, too, that I liked that simplified our job when we were processing things is some schools would actually... Because, like, again, usually on their application, people were supposed to write, okay, this is the GPA I got. And then you upload your transcript to back it up, right? But the thing is with the transcript is that, like, like, some schools would actually, because, like, we had to go in and calculate it just to, like, make sure that they had it correct. We had to go in and calculate it ourselves as well. And some schools would actually, like, calculate it, like, on their own, like, either at the end, or they would calculate it per semester, and then we just had to, like, put the averages together. And I was like, oh, thank you. Thank God. Thank you. Because some schools would just, like, dump the numbers on you, and they're like, how did this person do? I don't know, take a look. And then you have to, like, total things together yourself. And then you have to figure out with, like, credit weights and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I heard one, like, went up to 20, but they only gave up to 19. I forget which one it was, though. Yeah, again. Maybe, again, I guess it's a bit like languages in the sense that, like, you get used to one system and they're all nonsense, but you just get used to a specific brand of nonsense. Because, like, I don't know, in Canada, I guess, like my school used, again, like a 10-point, they call it CGPA, and it was like a 10-point system, right? But I think the 10-point system worked because it's similar enough to percentages, because most of the time when you were taking a class, they would give you a percentage. Like, your teacher would be like, okay, here's your average. It's, you know, like 86% or something. Like, it would be a percentage, right? So the percentage maps on very nicely with a 10-point system because it's essentially it's just decimals, right? But yeah, for some other schools, it confuses me when they use literally any other system. But yeah, the only thing though, I think, with the way my school reported grades though, the only thing was that, like, sometimes it was difficult during a semester to see how you were actually doing, at least like at a glance, because like sometimes what they would do is, if you were partway through a semester, right, they would mark everything that was not yet submitted as 0. So for instance, like, if you were like just halfway through and you submitted half your stuff and you're doing really well, your average might say, oh, you have a 40%. Not because you were failing the class, but because, like, again, only about half the stuff was submitted, right? So it's like, sometimes it was a little difficult to actually gauge how you were doing. But yeah. Percentages are cute, but unfortunately points on exams tend to be per expected minutes spent. So a 120-minute exam is like 120 points. I mean, I guess it's not illogical. I guess that sort of makes sense, right? But I feel like that would end up with you having some very, very arbitrary numbers at the end, you know? Yeah, so they just give out percentages on vibes? No. There's a system. So I know our system for percentages actually, I think, is a little different than Americans. But, so for instance, like, here, a passing grade is 50%. This is the case for high school, but also for most university programs, I think. Passing grade is 50%. There are some programs where the passing grade is higher, but usually those are ones like, for instance, I had a friend who was studying nursing, and I believe for her program, the passing grade was 65, which makes sense because, like, you know, it's a program where if you screw up, there are lives directly at stake. So it makes sense that they would have slightly higher standards, right? So yeah, her passing grade was 65%. For my program, the passing grade was 50 for any given class. So anything below 50 is usually considered failing. But I guess it's like, sometimes they would do letter grades too. So basically, I think it's like 50 to 50... Basically, like, 50 to 60 was like a D. 60 to 70 was a C. 70 to 80 was like the realm of B. Then after 80, then that's the realm of like A or A minus, A plus, right? So yeah, I feel like it was more or less even though in terms of like how much stuff counts for, I guess. Because also too, they usually would have like what they would like weight assignments. So they'd be like, okay, here's an assignment, this is worth 20% of your mark, or this is an exam, it's worth like 30%. I think there was rules specifically about how much, like, I think any given thing could not be worth more than a certain amount of your grade. So, like, even if you were running a class where the only way you'd be evaluated was the final exam, I think they still had to, like, give out marks for, like, attendance or something, because otherwise it's, like... Because, like, there definitely were classes where, like, I think I had a class that had, like, no homework, but I had, like, 2 really, really, really big assignments. And I did not like those classes. They were very stressful. Because it's, like... You have no way to gauge how you're doing throughout the semester, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, letter grades meant that you could never get 100% in a course because A plus mapped to something like 96. Yeah. But, like, in how many situations would you need to get a 100%, you know? At that point, like, I feel like 96 would be enough to get you into any, like, grad program you need. I feel like anything further than that is just perfectionism. Do they have different fixed criteria for grades in different policies classes? Well, yeah, obviously there's a curriculum, right? There's a curriculum. And teachers will have their own standards. Like, usually they have a lot of TAs to help them with the marking, especially for, like, essay-based classes where it's, like, very time-consuming to read. But, yeah, usually they'd have, like, an actual curriculum. You know what was expected of you. There were some things that were sometimes kind of arbitrary, like, you know, stuff like writing quality, where it's like, you know, your stuff is all spelled and formatted correctly, but the teacher just didn't care to read it. Like sometimes there were things that were a little arbitrary, but yeah, there was a curriculum. There is a curriculum. Grading, I think, and like also I also had classes that were just like, you know, there still was multiple choice questions. There still was multiple choice questions, and there still was, like, you know, it's not all just essay writing. A lot of it is essay writing, but you know, there still is, like, short form and multiple choice, the same way any other major does. Yeah. But, yeah. Sometimes grade brackets tend to be bottom heavy, with 40% being, like, a 4.3 or something funny like that. What do you mean bottom heavy? Like, I mean, I guess in the Canadian scale, it's, like, anything below 50. Anything in that first half. Like, nobody uses the first half because it's all just varying degrees of failure. Yeah. Do they have written down grading criteria that cover the whole class? Oh, well, yeah. They give you, if you have an assignment, obviously for an exam, but they're not going to tell you what's on the exam. But, like, for an assignment, they will usually be like, okay, this is what we're expecting out of you. Like, again, they do give us instructions where it's not entirely vibes based. There is a curriculum, you know, there is a standard. There is a standard. Like, because a lot of the time, again, I don't know exactly how they grade it. And again, some teachers were harsher markers than others. But, like, I think that when it comes to, like, grading stuff, because again, obviously, you can see when people were writing, like, do they understand the material or do they not understand the material, right? Like, usually that's kind of how it was. Did you take political philosophy? Yes, and I forgot all of it. I think we had some philosophy courses as part of our I think it was mostly in the first half of the program. But yeah, they were mandatory to take. I don't remember anything about them. I remember most of what I remember is I had one teacher who like made us purchase this giant brick of a book that was like insanely heavy and barely fit in my backpack, and then we used like 2 chapters out of it. That's what I remember about it. And I also remember I think that was the same class where the teacher, what was it? Oh yeah, okay. I think he not failed, but he gave like half the class like a bad mark. Because I think like there was something he didn't specify enough when giving the assignment. So like I think it was single space versus double space, I think, for the pages. He's like, okay, this assignment needs to be 2 pages single space, but then a lot of people, because double space was kind of the standard, a lot of people assumed, oh, it's 2 pages double space. So I was one of the few people, I guess, who read carefully and didn't fail the assignment because I wrote mine in single space. Again, it was one of those things where I'm like, I feel like if enough people are making the same mistake, you should probably just, you know, be a little lenient. But he was, I don't know. I don't understand teachers who take pleasure in giving people bad marks. Because, like, again, if it's, like, 2 people, if it's, like, 2 or 3 people, it's like, okay, some people just didn't read the instructions. But when it's, like, a solid chunk of the class who all made the exact same mistake, it's like, you know, maybe it might be your fault. Maybe. Yeah. Egg? Hello, Nano. Hello. We are talking about school and grades. Yeah, they usually don't reveal how things are graded, especially for essays. Yeah, not specifically, but they at least tell you like what's expected of you, you know? You at least you know what's expected of you. Because it wouldn't be fair if like if it wasn't, you know? And even if the teacher doesn't give you like the rubric right at the beginning, usually if you ask for it, they can. Hold on, I'm trying to boot up more music. I'm trying to start up more music and it's... There we go. Okay. It was taking a solid second to load. Sorry, I'm refreshing my IKEA delivery. Usually, but you go by words, right? Yeah. So they would tell you usually like, okay, this is how long it's expected to be. Sometimes they go by words. Sometimes they go by pages. Sometimes they go by, again, every teacher has their own way of doing it. The most frustrating teachers are the ones who would like, you know, the most frustrating teachers were the ones who would just like, they would not give you any instructions whatsoever. I had one teacher, I had an assignment where I was like the teacher didn't give us any specific guidelines for how long the essay needed to be. He was just like, oh yeah, just I don't know, make it however long it needs to be. And I'm like, okay, but like, am I going to lose points if the thing is too long or too short? Like, please, like, can I have a word count? Can I have an approximation of what you're expecting? Like, it was a final assignment too, so it's like, okay, I'm assuming this will be on the longer side. Yeah, it took some prodding until he was like, I don't know, like 10 pages, and we're like, okay, perfect, thank you. Yeah. Concrete grading criteria, they will in many cases not reveal, even if they tell you in very broad strokes. Well, again, were there things the professors were not telling us? Probably. Like, again, they can't tell us exactly, but like they are required, I believe, to give us some kind of like rubric or like some kind of list of expectations, you know? Like, are they using 4-bit values to define their grades? No, most of our grades were done by percentages in university. Yeah, vibes-based essay. Again, okay, I mean, to be fair, that was during like the COVID semester, and it was, the class was being taught by a teacher who I think was not pleased about all of the circumstances. But still, it was just like, please, for the sake of passing this assignment, for the sake of having a passing grade, may I please have more specifics? Because usually, yeah, again, they will give you a prompt. They will also give you like a specific prompt, right? Or a specific topic that they want you to cover. So usually, again, they will get more specific. It's not just like, okay, write an essay and then we'll throw a number at you. Like there is very specific expectations where it's like, okay, we need you to demonstrate how well you understand this or that, you know? Because, like, again, it's not really about, I think with my major, it wasn't really about how well you, like, how much you know things. For the first 2 years, yeah, it was kind of about, like, how much do you know things? But then after a while, it becomes like, okay, how well do you understand things? And that is a different beast to grade, I think. Yeah. But yeah, vibes-based essay. Yeah. Yeah. You lose points if the teacher doesn't like you. I mean, yeah, but that can apply for, like, any class, I think. Like, I feel like I saw people get that for, like, a French class, which, you know, in theory, should be easier to mark objectively. But no, like, I saw people suffer from that in a French class. Yeah. Everything is arbitrary to some point, but some stuff makes more sense than others. I also think, keep in mind as well that the teachers don't do all their own grading. Like I said earlier, they usually get TAs to help them with it. So I think, like, for that, like, you know, the teacher hates you can only take, like, you so far as in terms of explaining why you got a bad grade. Because most likely the teacher probably did not look at your essay. It was almost certainly one of the teacher's TAs. So, you know, maybe the TA has something personal against you, but oftentimes they were also marked by TAs who had not, like, they were TAs who had taken the course before, or TAs who were, like, you know, in the program who had already taken this, but, like, they weren't TAs that, like, had been sitting with you in the class for the whole semester, you know? Yeah. I'm sorry, for some reason the stream was delayed. Oh no, is the buffering actually happening now? Is the buffering that YouTube told me would happen actually happening? Yeah. So you mostly just study policy analysis? I don't know if it was analysis. I think it was more just like learning the basic concepts of, I guess, yeah, political analysis of like, again, a lot of it was just like learning the basic concepts of stuff, you know? Again, like despite it being my major, it was not the part of my major I think I was the most invested in. Like I feel like I was definitely more there for the languages, and the the political science was like, okay, it's all right. It's part of it, you know? But yeah. It says it's about a 20-second delay for me. Okay, let me check YouTube Studio, because earlier they were like, YouTube is, oh, never mind. Apparently I have excellent connection now. Apparently I have excellent connection, so make of that what you will. I don't trust YouTube Studio to give me accurate assessments of how well the stream is actually working. Because Stream Health, they're like, nope, stream is fine. It's fine. And earlier it was like, it was fine, and everybody, but then YouTube Studio was like, not enough video. Can you give us more video? Not enough video. Your viewers are gonna get buffering. Yeah. Sun's vibe-based grading is standard. I just think for certain topics, again, unless you do everything as a multiple choice test, and that's entirely graded by machines, there will be a personal element to grading. Yeah. You can click the live button to catch up if you're behind. The live button? I don't think I know. Again, the thing with YouTube is I cannot stop streaming. It's not like Twitch where I can like turn it off and turn it back on again. The thing with YouTube is if stream is lagging, I cannot turn off the stream, because then it's going to not understand. It's not going to understand that this is the end. Yeah. But yeah, what do you mean the live button? Like the stop stream, like is it like turn it off and turn it back on again? Oh, for the viewers. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you have to make another link. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, if stream goes down, you have to basically make a whole new, because again, it's they're YouTube videos that haven't been made yet, right? So because of that, it's like, oh, you gotta have another thumbnail. You gotta have another thing. Like, yeah, if it's not like Twitch where you can just, again, like if something breaks, you just start it up again. Yeah. But yeah. Viewers can also click on vibe. I mean, yeah, but it's annoying because then you look at someone's, again, you have to understand, if you go to somebody's YouTube page and you have like 3 VODs that are from the same stream, it's just not a very good look. And like, yeah, you could like edit them together and re-upload it. But ideally, I would prefer to not have to do that. Like, again, it's just, I don't think it's even personal preference. It's just that, like, you know, just because you can doesn't mean you should. You know? But yeah, you technically don't need to make another link if you have things set up a certain way, but I think that might be the case with your current setup. Yeah, Twitch just hides how to resync. Okay, yeah. I mean, again. Also, I think YouTube, you can, like, rewind the video. That's the other thing with live streams. You can rewind, like, the video while it's still going, which you definitely can't on Twitch. But yeah. The less work, the better. Exactly. Exactly. Like, I'm... Sometimes people tell me to do things, and I think that I am simply not going to do that. I simply will not do that. I am simply not going to. 0 to 10 is fine for you. Is the system in most places here? Of course, I'm different from one another to universities. 0 to 10 makes the most sense to me because it's the one that maps on best to percentages, which is how a lot of stuff is graded anyway, right? So, yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't remember if I was like, because like my grades in university were like, I was an extremely average student. I was like, solid 70 or whatever. Very much just like a middle of the road student. I did very well in some classes, and then I did poorly enough in some other classes that the classes I did very well in didn't count. So, like, everything I did negated each other, and I was like a very middle of the road. Just a little guy, I don't want to do work and stuff. Well, it's like, I don't know. Personally, I prefer if I don't have to, like, cobble together a new VOD out of other VODs. If you could go back on it, what degree would you get? The thing is that, okay, so the reason, I think that maybe if I would go back, but I would have to go to a different school. That's the thing, is that the schools in my area that I could go to without having to, like, move out from my parents, they didn't have the selection of programs I would have wanted. Because, like, I think I would have been interested in pursuing, like, an Asian studies degree, I think. It's a very weeb answer to give. But, like, I think that would have been interesting. Either that or maybe, like, theater or something. But, again, the programs that the schools in the area had, just, they did not really have a huge offering for those kinds of things. So that's kind of that's maybe what I would have done. But what did the top 1/3 get for grades in your degree? I have no idea. Do you think I ever talked to any of my classmates if I was not obligated to? Like, again, I think the only time I remember actually being even sort of friendly with my classmates was, like, maybe, like, my advanced Japanese, like the highest level of Japanese the school offered. But that was mostly just because it's like, okay, we're far enough into this that they filtered out all the people that don't want to be here. So everyone who's left is people who are super into this. And again, we usually have some kind of interest in common there. So yeah, I feel like any other my other classes, I just, like, either they were so big that, like, you couldn't really talk to anybody, or they were just, like, again, like, so true, so real. Well, that's how I felt about, like, taking drama class, like theater class in high school. Because, like, grade 9 theater is, like, a bit of a pain. Because, again, half of it is people who are into theater, and then half of it is people who don't care about theater at all, but they just need an arts credit in order to pass high school, like, to finish grade 9. But then by the time you get to grade 12 theater, everyone who's left, like, everybody who just needed an arts credit, they left ages ago, Everyone who's still here is, like, people who are super into it, and you've had the same teacher that you've had for, like, the same 4 years. So, yeah, also for my Japanese classes, I had the same teacher all the way through, actually, I think, too. But yeah, by the time you get to, like, advanced Japanese, it's like, yeah, everyone who's here is here because they want to be here. What's the favorite subject you studied? Japanese. Japanese. Some of my French classes were okay, too. I did have some... Again, I had some absolutely terrible, miserable French classes, but I also had some, like, really, really good ones. I think the last normal semester we had, like, the last semester, like, pre-COVID was, I had a really good French class. Like, I had a teacher who was, like, a lot of it was a kind of French public speaking. So it was a lot of, like, doing presentations, and, we did a lot of theater games. We did a lot of, like, improv games in French. That was, again, that teacher came from, like, a theater background. So, again, we just had, like, a lot of, again, it was a fun class. It was a nice class. And then there was that, like, French grammar one that, like, again, it would have been a good class if I would have been in the state of mind to actually still enjoy school. I felt very bad because, like, it was a teacher who was, like, very passionate. Like, it was a grammar class, and it was, like, a teacher who was aware that this is, like, an incredibly boring topic, like French grammar, but, like, he was trying his hardest to make it interesting. But I was, like, so checked out at that point that I felt bad. I was like, I felt the need to go on, like, when you have to do, like, the, like, professor review at the end of the semester, and I'm just, like, one of those things where it's like, I did not enjoy your class, but it is not your fault. Like, that this is entirely a me problem. But yeah, no, Japanese was interesting the whole way through, I think. Like, Again, there was like a solid gap there where I didn't get to take any Japanese classes because like basically originally I was supposed to do my exchange in 2020, right? So essentially spring like, semester 1 like or winter semester 2020. Cuz again, the schedule was originally, I started 2018, I continued in 2019. In fall of 2020, I was originally supposed to go to Japan then, right? So originally I finished my Japanese course in, winter 2020. And again, if things would have proceeded as expected, there would have been no gap. I would have, worked during the summer and I would have left for Japan in the fall. But then obviously that didn't happen and there was like a 2-year gap. There was like a 2-year gap between when I finished my last Japanese course at school and when I actually got to go to Japan. So I don't know if that would have like made my learning better or worse. Like maybe I would have been better at Japanese if there wasn't like a 2-year gap where I couldn't do anything, but yeah. Would you go back to finish learning Japanese? I mean, I've kind of halfway considered it. I want to continue learning Japanese. I want to continue studying Japanese because I definitely don't feel like I am where I want to be with it. But would I feel like going back to Japan to do that would be a big commitment. It's possible, but it would be a big commitment. But, yeah. Do not ask me about my future plans. I don't know either. I don't know either. Like, my goal at this point is, I don't know, find job, be normal. Like, I guess... I don't know. I think at this point is like, after the past few years, I've kind of been like, okay, I should stop making too many plans for the future because I feel like there are too many circumstances that these plans depend on, you know? So I'm like, I'm kind of hesitant to actually make any concrete plans other than like, find job, get enough money to afford stuff. Like, that's about it, right? Like, to make anything more concrete than that is, like, I'm very hesitant to do that just because it's like, okay, there are too many circumstances that are completely out of my control that could actually just completely mess this up. So, yeah. So, yeah. Have you considered going on Japanese YouTube and Japanese streamers to help supplement your language fluency? Yes, I already do that. A lot of my practice, I think, is also more reading and writing based, too. But, like, I had to speak Japanese for something the other day, and I was, like, stumbling my way through it so hard. Just because, like, the thing is with, like, when you're learning a new language, right? Like, reading, writing, listening, those are things you can practice on your own, right? But if you want to practice speaking... I feel like there's a lot of people I've met who can read and write a second language with like perfect grammar and everything, but they cannot speak like a single word of it. Just because, like, again, if you want to speak a language, you have to have a second person there to practice with, right? Like, speaking kind of, I mean, you can talk to yourself, but like, I feel like to have like an actual conversation requires a second person, and that usually, like, that's harder to come by, Parents will probably start asking grandkids at some point. Oh boy, yeah. Both me and my sister are hoping that the other person is the one who ends up having children. I think it's more likely to be her. I genuinely believe, I don't think she wants to hear this, but I think she's far more likely than me to ever have children, I think. But, yeah, I think both me and my sister are more like, maybe not career people, but like, I guess she's more career person than I am. Either way, neither of us are particularly inclined to having children at any point in the near future. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how my parents see for grandchildren. I feel like they'd much rather that we are, happy and financially stable than to have children. But like, if we did have children, that would be nice. I think that's our attitude about it. Is like, we would rather you are doing what you want, but like, maybe consider if what you want involves grandchildren. Just think about it. Yeah. Yeah, you can get italki lessons via video chat. No, I want to eventually sign up for like proper Japanese courses. Because again, now that I'm in a bigger city, there are more places that offer them. I just need to actually figure out at what time of year the sign up process is. Because I feel like every time I look it up, it's like the middle of the semester for them, and it's like, oh, actually, if you wanted to do this, you should have thought about it like 3 months ago. Or I cannot figure out what level I'm at, so I don't know what level to sign up for. Or I like, there's a bajillion issues. Again, I'll go through with it eventually. Like, yeah. I had lots of plans and made a lot of them real before or around my 30s, but after the point, I just thought I'd just relax and take it slow. Life has been better since. Yeah. But, yeah. My parents are the same, thankfully. For some reason, there's a lot of singleness in my extended family. Well, I feel like that's the same for, like, a lot of people my age. Like, I don't know if I know... I know some people who are getting married soon. I don't think I know anybody in my friend group who is even remotely close to having children. Like, again, to be fair, none of us are especially wealthy. So if it's like, I feel like for a lot of people, it's a matter of, like, finance. But, like, again, I don't know. I think nobody I know is, like, even remotely interested in having children. Like, even the people who could afford it. Yeah. But, yeah, yeah. All my friends either live far or are married and have no time. Life happens, yeah. I mean, I know in about, like, in less than 10 years, it will probably be very different, right? But, like, again, I think for a lot of us, again, because, like, everybody I know, like, people my age, right? We all, like, because, like, I graduated later because I started university later, but, like, all my friends graduated directly into the pandemic. Like, they graduated in 2020, right? So they just got, like, immediately just thrown into the deep end. So I think because of that, like, none of us have actually had a chance to have a normal, like, adult's life, I guess. Like, I think a lot of singles in previous generation, my extended family, even most of my aunts and uncles stayed single. I mean, yeah, I think only, like, my dad had 4 siblings, and out of the 5 of them, only, like, 3 got married. I don't know what the statistics are for different families, but yeah. If one of your friend groups started, the others will rethink too. Well, it's more just like, I have a friend who's getting married. Most of my other friends, as far as I know, are single. So, like, it's just, like, things like that, right? Where it's like, okay, like, it's not just that, like, only one of them is ready to get married, is that I think they're, like, one of the few people in the group who are, like, in a position to actually, they are even remotely close to being married, Like, everyone married my age met their partner in college or high school. Meeting people after college is struggle bus. Yeah, I think most of the friend I know who's getting married soon, I think those friends, they met in high school. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I know somebody else who might be getting married soon. But no, I think he met his girlfriend in college or in university. Yeah, now that you mention that, yeah. But yeah, again, I think it's just that, like, again, we have never had normal, working adults' life, Like, I feel like for people who are, like, specifically my exact age, it's like, you go into university in, like, 2016, 2017, and then you finish in 2020, and it's like, okay, you literally just became, like, a fully employable, fully educated adult, and then the world just immediately falls apart, right? So, I mean, I guess maybe it was the same for people who, like, graduated directly into, like, the financial crisis in like 2008. But like, yeah, for us, it's like, okay, we are not where we thought we would be because of situations outside our control. Like, nothing is within our control at this point. We are the age that we are. We were that age because of when we were born. But yeah. 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 Many such cases. I've seen it often. It does happen. It does happen. But yeah, I don't think, nobody I know, even the people who are like, yeah, we're thinking of getting married, like, nobody I know is thinking of having children. It's just not something. Well, even the ones who want to, it's like, can they afford to? And that's like a different question. So it's like, yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I know some people where it's like, okay, if you want grandchildren, then my parents better pay for it. Yeah. 2008 did kill a lot of potential careers. Well, that's what I worry about even for like currently, right? Because I think of how many people I know who are currently unemployed, not due to any fault of their own, but just because like they cannot find a job in their field. And like I think about like this is a time in our life where we're supposed to be like getting work experience. And like what is the workforce going to look like 10 years from now? Because it's like it's not just that like, you know, you personally have less work experience as like, you know, it's going to hold you back in your career individually, but also just like on a, you know, societal level. Like if you have a bunch of people who like spent several years when they could have been working, not working because of circumstances beyond their control, like again, you're going to have literally a less experienced workforce, which I mean, again, the older they get, the less it's going to matter. But I'm just like, how's that going to affect our society on a broader level? But yeah, I had only one very long relationship. If things are different, I'd probably be a father of 3 by this point. I would be fine to it, but I know some friends are allergic to the idea of kids. Well, I think the thing is, I think for a lot of people is, like, I know people will say, like, you will never feel ready for children, and that's probably true, but I think there's some people who feel even less ready than they would like to be, you know? Like, I think it's just kind of like, I don't think I could, even if I had, like, a stable job and stuff, I don't think I could raise a child. I don't think I have like the full capacity and patience required to do that, you know? Like I just like, because that's the thing too, right? Is that like, I don't know. I think also too, maybe it's just my friend group specifically, but I know a lot of people who just like aren't on good terms with their parents and probably are like, well, ideally I would like to not repeat that mistake. So like I think some of it is that too. Like it might just be like bad sample size of just like all my friends are people who don't like their parents. Right? Like they're like, yes, my parents did these things poorly, and I know I will do these things poorly too. Therefore, I will not inflict that on some hypothetical person, you know? Yeah. There's no way around it. Companies will just start hiring as they need. Yeah. Well, it's just like I think about how many times it's like you hear about like, you know, multiple positions being like blended into one very stressful position because the company doesn't want to hire a second person anymore or stuff like that, right? Where it's like, you know, society in 10 years. Oops, all VTubers passing around the same time around the same $20 bill. Well, yeah, because like I think about that where I'm like, okay, employers want experienced workers, but like you're gonna have to train people at some point. Like the workers are not going to train themselves. Yeah. It also depends how many kids one's parents had. For closer spacing, your parents might help out. Would your parents help? I don't know. Because like the thing is, I think when it comes to help, a lot of people my age are like, it would need to be financial. Like this is money based, not necessarily just like support based. I feel like, I don't know, my parents would probably help, but it's just kind of like, I guess, but yeah, financially it's like, I don't know, my parents aren't especially wealthy, so like, I don't know if if they would help, like, financially, exactly. But no, I don't know. I also don't think, when I say that, like, my sister is the one who's more likely to have children than I am, I think it's also that, like pregnancy and childbirth are probably one of my biggest fears because, like, again, it's a lot of pain and unpleasantness, and then you have the child. And then it doesn't get much easier past there, you know? That's the thing that like scares me. It's just like, you know, there's a lot of ways this can go wrong. And like obviously like, you know, humanity has persisted, so like it's not like it goes wrong for everybody, but like again, like I I don't want to have to put myself through that if it's just not going to, like, I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot of risk involved, you know? Because I feel like there's a lot of things they also don't tell you. Because like every time I've talked to somebody who's had a kid, I feels like there's like a lot of things they don't tell you until you're already in the middle of it, you know? Like there'll be somebody who's like, hey, so I just found out that apparently like pregnancy can make your teeth worse. Like, and it's like, okay. Okay. Like, yeah. Nowadays the risk seems to be 2 in 1,000. Well, here's the thing. I'm not just talking about risk of like death. Like, I'm not talking about like, you know, dying in childbirth. Because like obviously that is a risk. But like there are a lot of things that can go wrong that don't involve you dying. You know? There are a lot of things that like, just because you're not going to die doesn't mean that there aren't a bunch of other ways that your life can get just extremely worse, you know? Have you tried applying for secretary jobs? Yes. The thing is, those are surprisingly competitive. They're surprisingly competitive. Yes, no. I don't need the eggplants to become my parents. I don't need to log on and they're like, Eggy, have you found a job yet? I do not need the eggplants to become my parents. I already have, I have 2 parents and that's like enough. That's enough for me. Yeah, what kinds of jobs have you been applying for? Mostly administrative. Again, because I wasn't fired from my previous job, I left it because my commute was 2 hours each way. So, yeah, I've been mostly looking as well for like government and like nonprofit jobs. Because one of the things I realized, because like I was working at, you know, company, like it was a very corporation. And one of the things I think I realized when I was there eventually was just like, I think for my own sake, I think I need to work somewhere that has like a purpose that goes beyond just make big money. Because I mean, I was kind of in the like our department was very much the like bother customers for more money department. And like, again, if it was something I legitimately liked doing, like streaming for profit, that I can understand because like, you know, I enjoy doing it. And even if I burnt out on it or something, there's at least a creative element to it, right? Like, yes, there are people who stream and want to make big money, but like, again, there's still a creative element to it, right? I think for something that's just like office work, if it's something that like you don't necessarily do it because you're passionate about it, for me, it's like, okay, so I don't care that much about this, like on a personal level. But also, is this benefiting me that much? Not really. It's like, yeah, our department might be profitable. Am I seeing that profit? Not really. Yeah, oops, baby ate a bunch of calcium from your bones. Exactly. Like, there are things that's just like, oh, yeah, we're not going to tell you this until like halfway through. And it's like, that means calcium supplements. Yeah, but that doesn't. Just because there's ways to solve it does not make the premise of it any less horrifying, you know? Like, yeah. The eggplants are curious and trying to be helpful. No. Here's the thing. 80% of the time when it comes to my own life, I feel like I know what I need to do. It's just a matter of doing it. And when I talk about the things that I want to do and that I'm not doing, it's not for the sake of asking what to do. It's for the sake of complaining about my lack of initiative. That's the situation here. So a lot of the time it's like I'm not always asking for help. I'm more just complaining about things, you know? Yeah. Money for work is good if it's enough, right? Yes, but I was not being paid that much. I was not being paid that much. I was really not being paid that much. I was not being paid enough to feel like everything else was worth it, you know? Like, I was maybe making like 40,000 a year in a city where like the average household income or like the average individual income is about 20K higher than that. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not like I was making no money, but it was like not enough money to feel invested in what was going on, you know? Like, yeah. I think again, I think I need to work somewhere that like either if it's not something I really enjoy, like if it's not something like creative, it needs to be something that like, you know, has a point. That isn't just make more money. Yeah. Learning when to listen and when to problem solve is very valuable, true. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think also too, like a certain amount of advice can get overwhelming after a while, right? Because I feel like, again, this is my own personal experience, so I think it'll be different for everybody. But sometimes it's like, you know, when sometimes like advice becomes, it feels like an expectation, you know? Because sometimes people will tell you to do something, not necessarily just with the expectation, like not just with like the idea of being helpful, like maybe you should do this, but almost with the expectation that you will follow it. And I think after a while that gets very overwhelming after a while. Eggy, do those two that are beside you in bed right now have names? No, they're just eggplants. They're just eggplants. It's the eggplants. It is the chat mascot. This represents you. These are the eggplants. They're in all my other scenes too, I think. They're in my gaming scene. It's just the eggplants. It is eggplants. You are eggplants because you have white and yellow middle like egg. And because I am the eggy. Ugh, let me stretch. Let me stretch. But where else would it get calcium than nutrition? Your bones, Robert. Your bones. Your bones. And teeth. Yeah. Is that because we have names on Discord? Oh, no. I don't name the individual eggplants. Partly because again, I have them in all different scenes. Eggy names. Eggy names. Ah, yes, the Discord eggification. You gotta have eggification. Yeah, not all advice has the expectation that you act on it. Some just is brainstorming with you to understand the issues better. No, a lot of it to me is more just like, I know what I need to do. A lot of the time, I know what I need to do. My problem is that I don't do it. And again, that's not something anyone can solve for me except me, you know? Eggplant 1 and Eggplant 2. They're like extras. They're like background actors now. You know, like you look at the credits of a movie and you'll have like Barista 1, Customer 4. Yeah, Eggplant 1 and Eggplant 2. But yeah. No, a lot of times it's like I know exactly what I need to do. I just need to actually do it and I don't do it. And that's its own source of frustration. But again, that's not on anybody else to solve, you know? Why did you call yourself Eggy? Honestly, I've had, like, even since high school. Like, it's something me and my sister started calling each other, is like, you egg. So, again, I have been Eggy for a long time. I have been, even some of my other usernames before I made my Twitch account, they weren't NiceEggy, but a lot of them were kind of egg-related. Like, of course, if I was going to become a VTuber, I would never become anything other than egg, you know? At least not right off the bat. Like, I'm sure if I'm sure I could rebrand into something if I wanted to. And it would probably be fine, and I would be able to find something else that fits me. But, like, I don't want to rebrand because I like being Eggy and I like being an egg. I'm scared that if I ever rebranded, I feel like I would accidentally just fall back into being Eggy. Like, I feel like I would just like accidentally make an egg pun, or like I would be playing a game and I'd run into some like egg related piece of dialogue and I would just be like, egg. Like I feel like I am just egg at this point. I am just egg. So true, Egbert. Egbert. Eggy is fine. But yeah, I am Eggy. I don't know. I mean, again, it's like one of those things. It's like, it's not like I don't know how to be anything else. It's like, if I had to, I could become something else. But like, if I have the choice to remain Eggy, then like, I might as well remain Eggy, you know? Yeah. If you ever do a rebrand, can you do a hatching from an egg bit? Yeah, just out here rebranding into like a bird. I don't know what I would rebrand into. Like, if I had to rebrand, I feel... Because, like, there are a few different things that, like, I could do. I feel like there's a few different directions I could go with it. But, like, again, it would all depend. It would all depend. You know? Like, I've had thoughts where I'm like, okay, what if I rebranded... I guess I wouldn't need to be a new character for that, but I'm like, what if I went more of like a cottagecore route and really like doubled down on like knitting and crafting streams, or started doing ASMR, just become kind of like a relaxing VTuber. Or what if I remember at one point I'm like, what if I rebranded into like, how close can we get to Phantom of the Opera without getting sued by Andrew Lloyd Webber kind of thing? Where it's like, because I know they are actually apparently pretty litigious about, like, the Phantom IP. Because the thing is that, like, obviously the original... Because, like, Phantom of the Opera, the musical was based on, like, a book, right? But a lot of the, like, visual elements that we associate with Phantom of the Opera came from the musical, right? So, like, the mask that covers half of his face, that was something that was, like, an introduction of the musical, right? So I'm like... Could I rebrand into Phantom of the Opera? Could I rebrand into Phantom of the Opera? That'd be funny. It'd be funny. Like, rebrand versus alt outfit. Yeah, I guess I could become Phantom the Eggpera. And I guess if I wanted to go a more, like, you know, relaxing route, there's nothing that stops me from being able to do that, even with the current model I usually have. I don't think I would even really need new art or anything. It would just be, you know, switching up things in terms of content and... You know, I guess, I don't know. Maybe I've considered maybe, because here's the thing, here's the other thing too. I've considered maybe getting my model re-rigged. And then I look at the prices of model rigging and I'm like, okay, never mind. But then like, I've considered maybe getting it re-rigged, but like, I don't know. I don't think I could ever make myself switch artists. Like, I don't think I could ever see myself doing that. Like, the most I could ask is maybe if I got the same artist to redo the model in a slightly different style. But I feel like, again, I'm too attached to this art style. Even if there are elements, even if there's some days I look at it and I'm like, what if I looked different? And then I, like, try to imagine that and I'm like, no, then it wouldn't be Eggy anymore, you know? Yeah, speaking of outfit, the one you saw on Discord is super nice. Oh, the IRL dress? Yeah, Meat also got clown models, etc. I mean, yeah, I guess, you know, getting a new model doesn't mean that you're, like, abandoning the old one, I guess. Like, there's no reason, like, I could get a new model in a different art style. I could commission that and, like, still keep this one and still use it. But it's like, I don't know how I feel about that. Again, I'm used to being this version of Eggy, you know? And I feel like changing that too much just would feel... I don't know. I don't know how it would feel. Like, again... I think it would feel like getting plastic surgery, you know? It would feel like getting a new VTuber model would feel like getting plastic surgery, and it would probably cost about the same. But like it would feel like it's like, okay, this is my face, but it's not quite. There's something a little different, you know? And like some people might like that better. And I imagine, like, again, if there's something that you really don't like in your current model, like in the art or in the rigging, and then you get a new one, but like again, it's like, you know, you don't get plastic surgery on your face unless there is a problem with it, right? Either in terms of like, you know, function or in terms of aesthetics, right? Like if you like your face, you generally don't get plastic surgery. Yeah, Eggy 2.0 would be the way to go. Well, okay, actually, now that you mention it, technically this is, what you're looking at is actually technically the Eggy third version. So every time I've gotten a new outfit, Bogey had gone through and just kind of made a few tweaks to the model. So like this current Eggy, this is actually like the rigging has been adjusted over the years. I mean, obviously it's a little outdated because the last one I got done was in 2023, but it is kind of like this is technically Eggy 3.0. This is like the most, this is like an iteration of Eggy. This is not the same rigging that I started out with. This is like, this is a little smoother, I think, and a little like I think it tracks a little better than the original first one. But yeah, so technically I have had model upgrades, but they weren't like intentional. It was just like a little bonus thing that like, you know, Boogie was like rigging a new outfit for me, and she was like, "Hey, maybe I can add this to your face." Like, I can't do it right now because I'm using webcam tracking, but I do have mouth X, like where you can move your mouth from side to side. I do have that. I just can't, like, it doesn't work with webcam tracking. But yeah, like the eye smile, like, you know how like my eyes kind of curve a little when I smile? That was not, I don't think that was in the original model. I think that was added with the Lolita dress. So like, or I think the eyebrows have some more curve that they didn't originally have. So yeah, definitely there have been improvements made over time to my model. But yeah, to get it like properly re-rigged, like even to just like find someone new and just like get it completely redone. Because the other thing too as well with this art style is that I remember Colette had told me back in the day when I commissioned the art, she had mentioned, she's like, keep in mind that if you have this art style with like these thick lines, you might be a little more limited in terms of what you can do with rigging. Like just to let you know, like this kind of thick lined art style might not be as flexible. Now, granted, that was like 4 years ago, so obviously rigging has come a long way, and the expectation of what a live 2D model has looked like has changed a lot, I think. So I think, like, again, I see people today who have like perfectly fine live 2Ds that have like a very thick lined art style, but I know that is apparently like a limitation of this a little bit to a certain extent, compared to like something with like more, you know, fine lines and fine details, you know? But yeah. Something might be pretty cute if Soy did models. Isn't there also a baby egg? Okay, so the baby egg was actually the placeholder model. That was like the illegally edited VTuber model from the live 2D site. That baby eggy is like a chibi model that I used until I got this one. But again, baby eggy wasn't something I like commissioned. It was a model from the live 2D site that I went into the texture map and edited like a criminal. I changed the skirt, I changed the blue parts of the outfit to yellow, and I changed the hair to blonde like some kind of criminal. And then I eventually got a proper model. But yeah, baby egg is illegal. Illegal. But current eggy is legal. I can legally use this egg. But yeah. Because technically there's like a thing in like the terms of use for that live 2D model that's like, oh, actually you're not supposed to edit this. But then I went and edited it. And I committed crime. I committed VTuber crime. I mean, it's a very mild VTuber crime, and I don't think they're going to hold it against me in the long run because I no longer use that model. And I have not... But yeah, her misspent youth, these skeletons in her closet. Yes, the skeletons in my closet, they're very short and round. They are like chibi-sized skeletons. Yeah. Like, again, very small VTubing crime, in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, it is something where I'm like, okay. But like a lot of, technically, like there's a lot of models, like the sample models, like you know how like Neurosama had used like a sample model from the Live 2D site for the longest time as well. But even like Neurosama had to get like a proper custom one, right? So yeah, I mean it's not terribly uncommon. Small Eggy, like your profile picture on Twitter, could be also cute. Oh, the Wolfie Eggy. Yeah, the Wolfie Eggy. I mean, Wolfie has done art for Live 2D models before. I don't know how much it would cost to get like a Wolfie Eggy drawn and rigged. It wouldn't be out of the question though, because I've had the same... Wolfie drew that for my birthday like 3 years ago. And I've just kept it as my profile picture ever since because nothing else feels right. Like, other people have drawn pictures of the Eggy, but, like, none of them feel like a proper representation of me. More than the Wolfie Eggy. Like, he just nailed it. He nailed it so much that I cannot bring myself to change it. You know? I had another picture before. I can never go back to that one. I had another profile picture before. I cannot go back. It's just gonna be Wolfie Eggy. That is just, like... I don't know, the Wolfie Eggy looks so leisurely. I identify very strongly with the Wolfie Eggy. But yeah, I suppose it wouldn't be impossible to get, like... Because again, I think Wolfie has done live... I mean, Wolfie did his own Live 2D, didn't he? I guess it wouldn't be impossible to commission that, but... I don't know what I would use it for. I mean, the obvious answer is streaming, but, like... I don't know what I would actually use it for. I don't know, I've considered learning to use Live 2D, because I want to make an eggplant model. I want to make, like, a free-to-use eggplant model, but it turns out Live 2D is very complicated, so... Yeah. There we go. I have lots of water today. Lots of water. I have my big water. Yeah, it's cute. I mean, I'm happy with it. It's leisurely. All Wolfie art looks so... They all look so leisurely. Relaxed and leisurely. Very relaxed and leisurely. Like, it's... I don't know, it's like the perfect blend of, like, leisurely and energetic, right? I don't know. It's very nice and good. Very nice and good. But, yeah, for silly streams. Man, I have to think about April Fool's Day. That's in, like, 10 days or something. I don't know. I'm too nice. I don't know. How do I prank the eggplants in such a short period of time? I should have started thinking about this in, like, February. Again, when you're unemployed, it's really hard to plan ahead because, especially since April Fool's is what, like a Tuesday? Yeah, April 1st is a Tuesday, yeah. So I think I didn't plan ahead because I didn't want to, like, plan something and then, like, because I didn't know if I was going to be employed or not by then, right? So I didn't want to, like, start something and then have to, like, turn around and not be able to use it because I'm working that day, you know? So, yeah, because of that, I didn't plan anything. So I'm like, what do I do? What do you do for an April Fool's stream? The bad egg stream. I mean, I guess there's nothing stopping me from just, like, I don't know, making a bunch of weirdly put together assets. But, yeah, I'll have to figure something out. I have to be silly. Yeah, Grandma Eggy was fun. You could try becoming a movie reaction streamer. Become, I don't know. Yeah, I need to start planning for that too. Yeah, I feel like April Fool's weirdly takes more planning than, like, some other holidays that you think would be more important. I feel like April Fool's is harder to plan than, like, Christmas streams. Because I feel like Christmas streams, it's like, okay, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can sing some, you know, do some Christmas song karaoke, and like, that's all you gotta do, right? Whereas, like, it's like, April Fool's, it's like, oh yeah, you gotta plan this elaborate thing, like, months in advance. What day of the week is my birthday this year? It's in May. Oh, it's also a Tuesday. Yeah, I'll have to figure out something else for that. I'll have to figure out something for that. Because again, I don't know if I'm going to be employed on my birthday. But yeah. April Fool's Dark Souls. April Fool's League. April Fool's... I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's any other games that I'm like, I will never touch this. April Fool's, like, Genshin Impact Gacha. How about Prince Eggy PNG? Oh, bringing back Egbert? I guess I could. I haven't pulled them out in a while. Yeah. I would work with Egbert. Yeah, I have Egbert. And I have Grandma Eggy. But I feel like... I will have to give it some more thinking. I will have to, you know, put 100% of my Eggy brain into it. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like waiting mode on a bigger scale. Well, that's the thing. Like I said, like, you don't want to plan anything. Like, even, like, when I was, like, in 2023, I think I'd gone on a trip to Vancouver. I think I planned that, like, 2 weeks, like, a week or two before. Because, again, you don't want to be out of town when somebody calls back and they're like, hey, are you available, like, later this week? And you're like, cool, I'm on the other side of the country until next week. Like, you don't want to miss out on stuff like that, right? So that's why I was always hesitant to, like, plan too many things while I don't have a job. You know, like, even planning things on, like, specific days of the week, you know? Show gameplay some world record speedrun and pretend you're playing it. No, I will not commit, I will not commit fraud for April Fool's Day. Yeah. But yeah, so I think... I don't know. Again, it's hard to plan things when you do not know what the future has in store. Like, at least that was the one nice thing with where I was working before, is that, like, you had to pick your days off ahead of time, which on one hand was a little annoying sometimes, but on the other hand, it meant that, like, you know, you could actually plan stuff. And, like, again, unless it was something, like, unless it was a day that literally everybody was trying to take off at the same time, you were probably going to get the day off that you wanted, right? Because we weren't that big of a department, right? So, like, again, unless it was something like Christmas, where, like, everybody was trying to get Christmas off, like, if it's just, like, a regular day, like, if it's just, like, a week in the middle of June, like, you were probably going to get it, right? Yeah. You can reschedule April Fools to when you're available. Yeah, but then you lose the point. Like, it's not like Christmas. That's the other thing, too. With Christmas streams, you don't actually have to do them on Christmas, or even on Christmas Eve. Like, you can do them pretty much any time between, like, the 20th and the 26th, and you're probably good. Whereas I feel like April Fools really does need to be done on the 1st, right? Yeah. Oh, the movie reactions, I was serious, or are you not a movie fan? Maybe try watching a movie in the evening. No, here's the thing, is that, like, I'm not a movies person, but I am a TV person. So I'll be like, I'll look at a movie and I'm like, 2 hours? That's a long time. And then I'll go and watch, like, 2 hours worth of TV episodes. I don't think it's necessarily an attention span thing, because, again, I'm paying attention to those 2 hours of TV episodes. I guess it's just, like, a way I prefer things structured. Like, I feel like with TV, like, because again, I don't like, I know some people, my parents are like this. They will start watching a movie or a TV show or something, and then if they don't like it, they'll just turn it off and switch to something else. But, like, again, I like giving things the respect of at least watching them the whole way through, which is a lot easier to do with, like, a TV show, right? Because, like, with a TV show, if you don't like it, then, like, you can dip out. There's, like, you know, there's the end of an episode. If you get to the end of the first episode and you're like, this isn't for me, it doesn't feel disrespectful to dip out. Whereas I feel like if I stop watching a movie in the middle, I'm just like, yeah, but, like, yeah. Anime reaction or TV series reactors exist too. Yeah, I don't know. Eggy that reacts only to shonen anime. And reacts only by yelling. No. Yeah. People can deal with sudden April Fools in April. Well, here's the thing with April Fools too, is it really needs to be contained within April 1st. Because, like, again, if it happens at any other day, people get confused. But the other thing, too, with April Fools, I think, is that, like, I think it's better to happen... It's better that it happens in the first half of the day. I know with time zones and stuff, it gets a little wonky. But I feel like when you have stuff that's April Fooling and it's, like, 10 p.m., it's like, okay, we're a little burnt out on it by now. We're a little burnt out on it by now, right? But, yeah. Because, like, I was thinking recently, like, I don't watch that many movies. I've watched, like, 2 movies in the past, like, month, and I think that's the most I have watched in, like, several years. And it's literally just 2. It's just 2. Yeah. Like, again, if it's Supplementary Club Overtime, it can help you. Here's the other thing, too. When it comes to, like, movies and TV shows, is, like, I feel like I would make a terrible reaction person. Just because, like, I feel like I need time to think before I say anything of substance or value. And I like saying things of substance. Maybe that's my problem. I like saying things of substance and value. I like saying things of substance. And I feel like I need some time to think about what I saw. So, like, to give a moment-to-moment reaction, I feel like I don't show much reaction. I feel like I need to think about a thing before I say anything, you know? Like, that's my problem. I think I'm thinking too hard. I'm thinking too hard. Because, like, even when I watch other people, like, I feel like I would much rather watch, like, a video essay about a movie that somebody had to, like, sit down and research and write than to watch someone's, like, pure reaction to a movie. Just because it's, like, yeah, maybe it's interesting to see if there's, like, specific bits that you wanted people to react to see, like, people's reactions in the moment. But, like, I don't think that, like, people's reactions in the moment is always, like, an accurate representation of, like, how they actually feel about a thing in the long run, you know? Yeah. I like to do it March 31st to be extra tricky. Well, I mean, to be fair, if it's like the evening of March 31st, then, like, you know, it's April 1st somewhere in the world, you know? Yeah. You're worried about flying close to the sun with silliness. Well, it's more just like, I don't know, it's the cringe block in my brain. It's the cringe block. It's the cringe block. My brain... you know how people say, like, do not kill the part of you that is cringe, kill the part of you that cringes, and I'm still working on that second part. I'm still working on that second part. I have not yet found a functional cringe inhibitor that will, like, temporarily paralyze the part of me that cringes. I guess it's more also, too, just, like... I'm afraid of people coming in, like, new people coming in for the first time. Especially on Twitch. Not as much on YouTube, because I feel like on YouTube you have, like, the thumbnail and description, and you can give a little more context to stuff. But I feel like on Twitch I get scared of, like, people coming in for the first time and getting the wrong idea, you know? That's what I'm worried about. That's usually what I worry about. Because Twitch, like, again, you have the title, but, like, that's the most information you can give people, is the title and what game are you playing. So I think I guess it's just, like, wanting to make, not necessarily even a good impression, but just, like, an accurate impression on new people, you know? Yeah. You try telling silly jokes but got burned too often, so cringe is trained well. I don't even know if it was, like, I was silly and then I became less silly. I think it's more just, like, I don't know. I feel like I've had, like, a cringe arc in my life where it's, like, when I was a child, I was very concerned about being cringe. Although I didn't have the word for it at the time, but, like, looking back, it's like, yeah, I was very concerned about being cringe. And then I became less concerned with it in high school. And then I think, like, maybe, like, again, 2016 to 2018 was the time I was least concerned about it. And then then we fell... And then we fell back into, again, it's like, it's the arc of, like, I cared a lot, and then I did not care as much, and then I cared a lot again. Like, I think it's like, I don't know. I think it was when I was a kid, it was more like, I guess I was very worried about being perceived as something I was not, which is a very bad quality to have as a somebody who wanted to be into theater and music and stuff. Because like the theater is literally like an audience of people perceiving you as something that you're not, you know. Um, but like again, I was very like preoccupied with being like, I don't know. I guess I was only comfortable with like certain kinds of roles, with certain kinds of stories. Like, I think the thing is that like I know I was never worried about like, okay, you know what I think it is. You know what I think it is like as a kid, I was never worried about like other people, because like performing in front of an audience of strangers is fine because like these people don't know what you're like off stage. These people don't know anything about you except that what you look like on stage. Like that's it. That's all these people know. I think my thing was like performing in front of people that I knew. I find it a lot more difficult actually because I know a lot of people are it's the other way around where they're like, oh, I have no trouble like doing things for my friends and family, but like I like performing. I don't like performing in front of strangers. For me, it's the other way around. Like I can do anything in front of strangers. If you stick my parents in there, you have like diminished my abilities by like 40%. Or not even my parents, but just like, you know, somebody I know, you know, just stick somebody I know in there. Yeah, it makes sense in my mind. Do you have issues with dumb misunderstandings in media? Not. I mean, I get annoyed when I see other people doing it, but like that's not like their fault. Like, but yeah, it makes sense in my mind. Yeah, I guess it was just like, and keep in mind, this is when I was a kid, right? And I mean, I guess I still feel it a little bit to this day. But like that was mostly when I was a kid. Because yeah, some kids are like, we want. You know how when you have kids who are like, I hope my mom shows up to my like dance recital, and like I don't know, I felt the opposite. I'm like, I mean, my parents will probably show up to my dance recital, but like I would actually like, you know, if they didn't, that would be fine too. I might actually perform better if they didn't. um yeah, I think it's like the idea of like, again, I would much rather mess up in front of a crowd of strangers than mess up in front of a crowd of all my closest friends and relatives, you know. Like I think it was a lot of that. And then I guess in high school I cared a little less. Because again, I guess maybe in high school, like, you're not, like, there was a lot more situations, I think, in high school where I was able to perform. But it wasn't necessarily, like, yes, I was performing for my peers. Like, obviously, it's like, you know, here's the choir singing a national anthem in front of everybody at this school assembly or something. But, like, it wasn't like super personal, right? And then I don't know. I guess I got older, and then I guess I became more online. So now I have to deal with like I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like cognitively I know certain things are true, but the emotions part of my brain has not yet processed that. So like I think about this with like, you know how there's people who will just never they will just never like VTubers, right? Like, it doesn't matter how much you try to appeal. Like, it doesn't matter, like, how good you are at what you do. They will just never like VTubers. And, like, for some people, it's just like, you know, okay, this just isn't for me. But then there's other people who are, like, angry and aggressive that, you know, a thing they don't like has the audacity to exist. And I think, you know, having your brain exposed to, like, again, people... Because, again, like, when you're performing... Like, if I'm doing, like, a school play or something, people who are not interested in seeing the play are probably not going to show up to the play, you know? Whereas, like, I guess on social media, you just get stuff thrown at you, right? So, like, you know, if my tweets end up on the timeline as somebody who hates VTubers, they're going to be like, ooh, cringe VTubers. And I'm going to be like, okay, well, now I'm sad about this. What if Twitter cancels me for my theater? Here's the thing, that's not what I'm concerned about. That's not what I'm concerned about. I'm not really concerned about being misunderstood, I guess. Like, again, I think it's more just... How do I explain it? maybe it's the circle of cringe. It's like the cringe cycle where I'm like, okay, doing this thing will be cringe. But what if I did it anyway? But then I feel like people can smell the hesitancy on me. That's what I worry about sometimes. Is people can smell the hesitancy on me. Like, you know, when you're like watching somebody who is trying to be funny but is very self-conscious, and I feel like people can smell that on me. So then I'm like, then it becomes cringe. So I feel like it's the cycle of cringe where I'm like, doing this would be cringe, but what if I did it anyway? But if I do it anyway, I'm not going to be able to do it to my full ability, and that will kind of also be cringe. So then, it's the cycle of cringe. It's the cycle of cringe. Again, I admire people who seem to have successfully killed the part of them that cringes. I feel like that's a lot of the... Like, again, there's a lot of people I watch where, like, you know, a lot of people I know would probably be like, that's kind of cringe, but I'm like, no, that's what makes them great. They've successfully killed the part of them that cringes, leaving only the part of them that is cringe. They've successfully eradicated that out of their brain. That's a skill. That's a skill. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's kind of... Yeah, that's again, that's my own problem, right? Like, I don't know how to solve that. I can I don't know, maybe try to like watch other people who I think have solved it and see what they say about it, but like I can't... Like, this is a problem you have to solve for yourself, right? Nobody else can solve that one for you. Like, you are the only one who can kill the part of you that cringes. Nobody else can do that for you, you know? Can you try translate in Japanese? Maybe try working in manga my Japanese is not remotely that good enough for that. I actually did want to do that at some point. Yeah. They're bleeding people in that community for doing bad translations. Here's the thing. This was actually like a career path I had originally considered taking several years ago. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to learn Japanese. But the problem is that the reason why they're bleeding people is not necessarily because of bad translation. It's because the pay is kind of garbage. The pay is kind of garbage. You have to understand that the translations are bad because nobody is being paid enough to actually... And no one's being paid enough to do a good job, if that makes sense. Like, when I see a bad translation, my first thought isn't like, oh, that person sucks at being a translator. It's because they were probably given like an insane deadline and paid minimum wage. That's why. That's almost certainly the case, you know? Or like, you know, the company was like, editors, that sounds like another person to hire. We're just not going to pay for that. So we're just not going to get a second pair of eyes on it. It's fine. It's probably fine. Yeah. So they probably have job openings, but yeah, my Japanese is not like remotely good enough to do that, I think. And the thing with translation as well is that it's not just about how good you are at both languages, right? It's like, how can you... Because there's more to translation than just knowing the words, right? Because if it was about just knowing the words, then AI translations would be fine. But there's more to it than just knowing the words, which is why AI translations always seem to kind of suck, you know? Like, at best, the story makes sense, but you've sucked all the personality out of it, and at worst, it's completely incomprehensible, you know? Yeah, bad localization is its own can of worms. But the thing is that you have to think of localization as, like... I think people think of it as, like, a skill rather than as an art, right? Like, translation in general, there's an art to it, right? And there's choices that people might make that not everybody will agree with. But again, it's in the same way that, like, you know, you might have any other kind of piece of art that, you know, choices will be made that people will disagree with, right? Like, yeah. So, yeah, it's like most of my jobs, insane deadlines and low paying. That seems to be the case for, like, translation in general right now, I think, unless it's, like, a very specified field. It's just overall, it's in a bit of a state of crisis, but I don't know. It's hard to say where it'll go from here. Yeah, AI is getting pretty good. The thing with AI, though, is just that, like... So, AI, I think, is fine if you're translating, like, a tweet. Well, actually, no. If you've ever clicked the auto-translate button on Twitter, you know that maybe AI is not always good for translating tweets. The thing is with language is that, like, language moves faster than AI can keep up with, I think. Because you think about like memes and slang, right? Like, does the AI know what the words does AI know what the word skibbity means? And the answer at this point is probably yes, because it's been around. The word's been around for a few years now. But like, could it accurately? Because like sometimes I see like especially for Japanese to English on Twitter, like there will be words from Japanese that are like slang terms that mean something specific, and then in English they translate it in a way that just it doesn't capture the vibe of the original, because it's like it's not using slang. It's trying to use very very, you know, normal non-slangy words. Whereas I think also too, just like a lot of slang words just don't carry over, right? So that's why, you know, in English, it's like about like if you have a character who in the original language was speaking in a very slangy way, sometimes you have to like replace that in English with English slang, because it's like, okay, yeah, it might not be perfectly, but like sometimes the vibe is more important to yeah, formal coding. That's the thing, I think. Here's my theory. Here's my theory when it comes to like stuff like DeepL and Google Translate, is that I think a lot of the time when they translate things from language to language, it defaults to a very like neutral, polite, not necessarily formal, but a very like neutral and polite way of saying things, rather than, you know, what was actually said. Just because I think, like, again, they don't know what situation the program is being used in, right? So I think there's a hesitancy to like actually make, like, if you're translating like a rude comment, if you're translating like a very rude casual comment to from like one language to another, I think there's a hesitancy to actually go like full in on that, or to have the AI go full in, because like, again, if you think about it, like, it's like, okay, well, what if you're in a business setting and, you know, that could be rude, or like what if you're talking to somebody you don't know, you know? So I think I feel like they always bump up the formalness of it just a little bit. Like I think that it happens, but I think that's like one problem with machine translation, is that like it doesn't know what situation it's being used in, and they're trying to make something that works for all situations. So it's like, you know, when in doubt, it's better to default to the more polite version. But the problem is that, yeah, sometimes the more polite version is just a little too polite. Yeah. In computational linguistics, there's something called sentiment analysis. Yeah, it's part of AI translation. Yeah. I just don't think it's very good at it. Yeah. Even though localizers can fail at selecting the right coding in English. Well, I think the thing with that is that, like, a translator, a human translator, or like a localization team made of humans, those are real people who can come up with, you know, if you have, you know, a choice of words or a choice of phrasing that you think is kind of weird, or you think might not match the original, there are real humans who can explain why they made that choice, you know? And maybe sometimes that, like, their explanation might not be good, but at least there is a human who can explain, you know, this is the choice I made, this is why I made that choice. Whereas I feel like if you rely too much on machine translation, it's like, okay, well, why did the machine do that? I don't know. Do any of us actually know how this works? Like, yeah. So I think a lot of the time it's like, I don't think it's that translators are bad when it comes to Japanese to English. It's just that, like, nobody is given the time or money or like necessary respect. Because here's the other thing with translation. And like, again, I say this as somebody who was thinking about translation all the time when I was in my first few years of university, especially for Japanese to English, is people have gotten really weird about it over time. Like, I've seen even some translators mention, they're like, I feel like I can't discuss the quality of any given translation because there's a bunch of people who are going to get weird about it, you know? Like there are, again, especially on social media, it's just like become a very difficult thing to discuss, because sometimes it's like, okay, there was this translation, I don't think they did a very good job, there's some things that I think I would have done differently, but again, you you can't criticize in a very neutral way because there's a bunch of people on the sidelines who are just like waiting to get mad about it. So it's like, okay. Like, it's one thing when you're like, I think, like, it's one of those things where it's like someone's like, okay, there's a translation where there's like, okay, they changed this thing. I don't think they should have changed that. But then obviously, like, again, because it's social media, you get a bunch of guys, you get like, the least, the weirdest people on earth are standing on the sidelines being like, SJW translator changes everything. Like, nobody is normal about anything. Yeah. To be fair, to piss people off deliberately. Yeah, but the thing is like, it's circular. It's on both sides, right? Like, I don't think translators are doing this on purpose. I think it's just that people have gotten so weird about it that nobody is willing to actually, like, listen to what anybody is saying. So, yeah. No, I also for Japanese YouTubers, I'm at the level. The thing for like learning Japanese on YouTube, from YouTubers new to here is I'm past the level. I'm a little bit past the level because if you're a beginner, it's very easy to find stuff. Once you get into higher levels, it gets a little more difficult to find people who do videos on that, just because, like, the amount of people who are going to fall off before they get there, it gets increasingly high the further you go, right? So, yeah. They do tweet about how they're happy that this line will piss Twitter off. I don't know. I feel like there might be a couple people who, like, revel in it a bit, but I wouldn't say that's most people. I wouldn't say that's most people. And the thing is, a lot of it too is, again, time to be controversial here. There's a lot of people who refuse to acknowledge that certain things might have been present in the original Japanese. Like, I've seen some people who get mad when they put English slang or like current English slang into translations, despite the fact that what they were saying in the original Japanese also contained current slang that will become dated in a few years. Like, people will be like, oh, this will date the translation. And it's like, buddy, the original source material was also going to date itself. Like, everything that takes place in the present is unintentionally going to become a period piece, Yeah, because I feel like, when I've seen people being like, oh, people are gonna be mad about this, half the time is like them sneaking the like sus among us into there or something, right? Like it's not like, it's something that's just like silly, like it's not like offensive. But yeah, again, I think my issue that I've seen with some translations recently, again, it's not everybody changing things. It's like, I just don't think they had enough time. Like, recently I played Urban Myth Dissolution Center. And I don't know what was happening with that game's translation. I just think they didn't have a single round of editing on it. Like, it was I can only describe it as unpolished. Like, firstly, like, there was several cases where there was stuff like typos or missing words. Like, it just felt like, again, like this thing didn't even get proofread. But the other issue I had is that, like, for instance, there was a lot of places where the characters would tell a joke. And the only reason I could tell that there was even supposed to be a joke there was because I speak enough Japanese to know what they were probably trying to say in Japanese. Like, I just don't think this got a single round of editing. Because, like, again, if it got any, like, I feel like an editor probably would have looked at some of the ways the jokes were translated and being like, okay, this does not work at all in English. Let's edit the wording of this. Let's change the wording of it, or let's write in a new joke that, actually makes sense here. But no, it's like, for instance, there was a lot of bits where the character, like, one of the characters would, like, misread the kanji in someone's name. But the way they went about it just did not make sense in English. Like, again, I know that there's a joke there. I understand what the joke is supposed to be because I speak enough Japanese to know, like, how these kanji are usually read. But, like, somebody who doesn't know that is just going to be like, why is she saying it that way? That doesn't make sense. Like, it does not make sense in English, So, yeah, there are hard and soft translations. Hard is supposed to sound more wooden. Yeah, but this was not a game that needed hard translations. Like, this is a game where, like, scrolling through Twitter is like a game mechanic. Like, this is a game where, like, I think they're allowed, okay, my hot take is, like, any game about, that can, like, where the internet plays an important part should be allowed to take as many liberties as they want with the translation. Just because the way people talk on the internet is very different in English versus in other languages, right? Like, I remember, like, again, in that game, there's some parts where you have to like again read through tweets as like that's an actual part of the game. Like your character does like social media investigations. Um and a lot of I don't know, the tweets didn't read very tweet like, if that makes sense. Like it didn't feel like I was looking through Twitter. It looked like I was going through JP Twitter and hitting auto translate on every tweet, you know? Like it just they felt a little too clean and formal for what people would actually say on social media, right? Which I think actually like is to the detriment of the game, because one of the big points of the game is like, you know, online harassment is bad, but like, you know, you can't really say online harassment is bad when like all the online harassment that you show is so like mildly worded that it doesn't really like it's just people saying stuff. So yeah, I think like for instance, I think needy girl overdose I think is like a good example of like you needed to make this game, you needed to make a lot of changes, otherwise the game would literally be unplayable in English. Because like Needy Girl Overdose, right, is a game about like knowing how to respond to things in the correct way, or at least in the way that will cause the thing you want to happen, right? So for instance, like, you know, you're moderating a Twitch chat is like a part of the game. You need to know what, like, again, you need to know what is a good message to ban and what is a message that you probably shouldn't ban, right? And I think that, like, again, if you kept it too close to the original Japanese, it would become really difficult for English players to decipher, you know? So I think, like, just things like that, it's just like, yeah, you need to a certain extent, I think you need to do it that way. Yeah. There are non-American English variants too that might not have a lot of the same English slang, but you're now twice removed from the original. Yeah, but the thing is that, like, on the internet, like, I guess there are, like, individual, like, I imagine maybe there's things that people on the British internet say, but I think for the the thing with the English-speaking internet is that, like, it's a little different because it's less localized. I don't mean less localized as in, I mean less localized as in, like, less specialized to a local area, right? Like, my British friends are quoting the same meme as my American friends, who are quoting the same memes as my Canadian friends, right? We in the English-speaking internet, we are all skibbity toilet, you know? Like, I feel like that's why I said specifically for like stories about the internet, I think it's okay to take more liberties because of that, you know? For other stories, maybe less so, but for stuff about the internet, I think you should be able to, like, take, you know, as many liberties as you need to, because again, it's the internet. It is the internet. But yeah, no, it is a career path I considered, but at this point, the money is, it's one of those things where, like, even people, a lot of translators, I believe, they are doing it as like a second job. Like, it's not a job you can use as like your primary source of income anymore. Because yeah, just there's a lot of work, but none of it pays very well, it seems. It also seems that, like, I know I've heard other people talking about this, is that some companies, what they've started doing is instead of hiring translators, they're like, okay, we're gonna machine translate this, and then we're gonna get like human people to come in and edit the machine translation. But the problem with that is that, like, those people who are being invited back as editors they're not being paid as much, right? But the other issue with that is that, like, sometimes the machine translation is so bad that they're basically just going back and translating it from scratch. So they're essentially being paid less to do the same job, right? Like, sometimes the machine translation just isn't very good. So it's like, okay, time to basically go back to the drawing board. We're basically just translating this all from scratch again, which is what we were doing in the first place. Yeah. Jobs people want to do pay less because more people want to do them. I mean, yes, but, like, you are underestimating. You're underestimating for the qualifications. I don't think this is a situation like this. This is, like, a situation where, like, it is legitimately, it's also too, like, I think there is, like, it is legitimately less, it pays less than it did before. Like, again, the money is just, people are not getting paid. They are not getting paid. Well, I mean, they're getting paid, but they're not getting paid enough. That's what you have to understand. It's not just a matter of it's competitive, it's a matter of, like, companies are not willing to pay what they once did. Because, or, like, they're trying to pivot to things that will be cheaper, and it you know, it is to the detriment of everybody. Because, yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of issues with that. Like, there's also been issues about getting translators credited in the first place. Because, like, again, if you're not credited in a work, you can't prove that you did it, which means that you can't really use that in your portfolio or anything. So I know there's been issues with some, like, agencies. I remember there was one game that, like, actually, in their credits, they put in, like, name of agency wouldn't provide us with the names of the translators who worked on this project. Like, that's what they put in the credits. Like, yeah. Yeah, let's talk about translation job. It definitely is competitive, even if the low pay dampens that. Yeah. But no, I mean, again, there are other reasons. There are other reasons. Because, again, like, if every competitive job paid poorly because of that, then there would be a lot of jobs that pay a lot less than they currently do, you know? But yeah, no, it is something I considered. I don't know if I consider it as much now. I guess it's not off the table. It's just kind of uh, 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 you know? It's like that. It's like that. But yeah. Sorry, I've the train of thought has arrived at its final station. I'm like, I don't know where to go from here. I don't know where to go from here. I don't want to end the stream, but I don't know where to go from here. I don't know where to go from here. I am Eggy. The Eggy default reset phrase. I think if you had, like, one of those Eggy, like, you know, like the toys where you press a button and it says something, I feel like I am Eggy would just be what it says. You just, like, press on the stomach and it goes, I am Eggy. I'm Eggy. It's Eggy. It's Eggy. Very eggy. An egg. A egg. A egg. A very egg. Man, okay, again, my train of thought just completely ran out of fuel. Maybe this is a good place to call the stream. How long has it been? It's been like almost 2.5 hours. Eggy. Oh, hello, Mixpatch. Good morning, or good afternoon now. Yeah. I know I said maybe this stream would be interrupted by me getting my IKEA furniture delivered. It still says on its way. It still says on its way. I didn't make an account, so it says log in to track, but I didn't make an account, so I don't think I can do that. But yeah, they haven't rung the doorbell yet, so yeah. What happens that leads you to start sentences with again a previous argument by the other person? I guess. What are you talking about? I don't understand the question. Yeah, IKEA delivers nice. Yeah, it just costs a lot. I only did it because I don't have, like, I can't drive and I don't have a car. And I know people with cars, but they don't have the car available, or, you know, they're not available to come over here at a time that is convenient to me. So yeah, it's expensive. Especially if you're getting something big delivered. Like, if you're getting something small delivered, I think there is a cheaper option. But I think if you're getting something like bigger delivered, because they are bringing it all the way into your house, it costs more. Because, like, some of the smaller stuff, they can just, like, leave at your door the same way, like, if you order anything else. But I think for the bigger stuff, they're like, yeah, we don't want I guess, I don't know. They don't want you to, like, I don't know, hurt yourself or drop the merchandise while carrying it down the stairs or something. Yeah. Well, Eggy said you might have a lot of people that want furniture. Well, I don't think it'd be cheaper. If anything, it'd be more expensive anywhere else. Because, like, again, I live relatively close to a few IKEAs. Like, I live within, like, I live within, like, 20 minutes of, like, at least 2 different IKEAs. I don't think that's a dox. I just live in a city with a lot of IKEAs. But yeah, I think if you lived in another city, I think it would actually be more expensive because you're further away from the IKEA, you know? Yeah. Will you bring a rabbit to stream for Easter? Oh, yeah, Easter is later this year. I need to think about what to do for Easter. I don't know. That'll be a thing for another time. I have too much on my plate already, I think, when it comes to streaming. I have enough on my plate already. I will worry about that some other day. Some other day. Yeah, again, let me reiterate my point. I don't know. So, why do you point that out? Yeah. But yeah, no, it when I say expensive, I mean like I think it was like $40 to get my shelf shipped and delivered. Like, again, I had no other choice because every other choice would have involved getting a car, which I don't think, I think the thing I ordered is too big. I don't think Uber drivers are going to be particularly happy with me if I like show up and I have this giant IKEA shelf. But yeah, so yeah, did you take any linguistics courses while you're taking Japanese courses? I took one. I took one intro to linguistics. I can't remember if it was required or if it was an elective. I took one. Again, that was like, I think that was one I took in like the final, I think it was in the final semester I had of class. Or no, when was it? When was it? I remember it was online. Was it the final semester? Either way, I remember it was post-COVID. It was post-COVID. I took exactly one. Do I remember anything from it? Maybe a little bit. I remember that I did way better at the parts about like how words are constructed. And I did way worse at the parts about pronunciation and like that I did terrible at. Like vowel sounds and stuff. I did not. I think maybe if the class was taught in person, I maybe would have done better. But like, yeah, I did pretty well at the part about like construction of words and sentences and stuff. That I did pretty well at. Yeah, so yeah. But they said it would be delivered today before 9 p.m. Between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m., which is, you know, more or less the whole day. So I have no idea when this is, like, I don't know when this thing is going to show up. I just know that I can't go out today until it shows up. So, syntax? Yeah, I think maybe I forget what it was called. Again, this was like a COVID semester, which means I remember even less from it than I normally would. So yeah, I don't remember what semester it was, because, like, again, the first COVID semester, I think I had multiple poli-sci courses. Did I even have a French class that semester? Then, because I remember I did one semester of normal classes, but they were online, but, like, it was, like, the full semester. And then I did one semester of part-time where I originally took 2 courses and then I dropped one of them, so I basically just did only world religions for that one semester. Then I went back in the fall and it was kind of like half and half, so I had some classes that were in person, but most of my classes were still online. And I think that winter the classes were for the most part in person. But I don't remember when. I remember I took linguistics. I don't remember when. It's all kind of a blur there. Because I'm trying to remember, like, where I was working, because I changed jobs partway through university, right? And it was partly through COVID. So like sometimes I just track it by like, okay, what job was I working at when this class was going on? But like I legitimately don't remember. It's like a specific pocket of time that I don't remember exactly when it was. I just remember it was online, and I remember I did better at the first half of the semester than the second half. That's all I remember. Yeah. I don't know. I just remember that one semester that I did I did like 4 or 5 online courses, and it was terrible. I don't recommend it. I mean, you probably can't do it now the same way you could do it that semester, but I don't know. It was a weird semester because I felt like the workload, despite the fact that like I wasn't taking any more courses than I usually did, it felt like the workload was higher. And like I remember talking to other people because I thought maybe it was just my courses, like maybe it's going from second to third year, like oh yeah, the courses just get more, like the workload gets higher. But no, I was talking to other people and they noticed the same thing, where it's like I guess that maybe the professors were just like, well, no one's traveling, all events are canceled, so clearly nobody has anything to do, so they should have enough time to devote everything to school, right? Clearly, surely nobody else has any other work or family responsibilities. Surely nobody has any issues with that. So we're just gonna give them all the work at once. We're gonna give them all the work. And then if they complain, then that's their problem. Surely this is the best way for this semester to work out. But yeah, because I seem to remember, yeah, like there was a lot. Also group projects. I don't know why they insisted on doing group projects when nobody could like see each other in person, but because I know I wasn't the only person who ran into this, but sometimes it was like, okay, because like some classes had like international students, right, who were doing schooling from wherever they were. So sometimes it was just like there'd be groups where they were like, hey, teacher, every single person in this group is in a different time zone, so we can't really get together to discuss this project without making somebody wake up at 3 in the morning. Like, do we got a better way? Is there a better way of doing this? Or I had one issue one year that semester with a group project where like I think there was a person who had like dropped they hadn't dropped the class, but we thought he might have. So basically, like in my group, we had all managed to get into contact with each other except for this one guy, because again, the teachers, they only gave us they didn't give us a lot of contact information for our group members, right? Because like again, if it was a real life class, you could just meet in class, but like for the group projects, they would pretty much just keep, like the teacher would just give us the student emails of everybody else in our group. So if one person wasn't responding to their email, or if they had like gotten locked out of their inbox or something, we just wouldn't know if they existed. So like we had all managed to get into contact with each other except for one member of the group, and we had to like ask the teacher, we're like, hey, can you check if this person is still in the class? Because we cannot contact him. None of us know him, and we cannot contact him at all. Like, we've tried, and he just, like, is completely, like, has not responded to anything. And we don't know what to do, because this thing is due in, like, a week. So, yeah. Online learning, known for producing notoriously bad results. I mean, I guess it's better than doing nothing. Because I know online learning is legitimately, like, beneficial for some people who, like, probably can't go to, the people who can't go to school for whatever reason, like physically go, like online learning definitely has its perks, but yeah, I don't think I would want to go back to using that as like the primary means of education. I just don't think it would work out very well for a lot of people. But yeah, at least, I don't know, for now I don't plan to go back to school, at least not full time, so I don't know. I think I'm good for now. I don't have to think about this. I don't know. I feel like I graduated at maybe not the perfect time, but like, man, I'm so glad I graduated right before like ChatGPT started getting good. Because I feel like I'm hearing a lot of people who are either still in school or work in schools, and they're like, oh God, marking things is so difficult now. I feel like I have the kind of writing that might get like suspected to be AI. I feel like I use enough of the words. Like I remember some people were saying that like ChatGPT really likes the word delve. So like it's like, man, I also use the word delve. And I'm like, man, like I'm so glad that I finished school before I had to think about any of that, you know? Like I just don't have to think about it anymore. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah. Yeah, again, these are thought processes for the future. Mm, AI. A nice eggy. Actually, okay, I found out. I had the thought once. I was like, I wonder, because I know people have made character AIs of VTubers. So I had the thought once of like, has anybody made a character AI of me? And the answer was that somebody did, but it was not of me, of like NiceEggy. They specifically made a rude version of NiceEggy. I don't know who did this, but I just out of curiosity I looked it up, and it was like somebody made an like a character AI called Rude Egg Woman, and it's it uses my picture, but it doesn't sound like me at all. It doesn't sound like me at all. I think they it's like they tried to make it sound rude. I don't know what they trained it on, but they're like, yeah, Rude Egg Woman. So that exists, but there's no Nice Egg Woman, so technically it's not me. So it's, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's fine. I have no idea who made this thing. Yeah. I've been told I have a very formal writing style before. Even just by your like chat messages, I can say, yeah, you do. One of my coworkers had asked if I wrote what I wrote was AI. Apparently, just having good grammar and writing stuff is AI. Well, that's what I'm concerned is like I know that there's certain words that are like very common in like academic texts and academic writing that ChatGPT just loves to use, and that's what concerns me. Is like are like am I going to be mistaken for AI for having the audacity to, you know, write an academic paper in an academic fashion? Yeah. How do they do that? Do they take the tweets of someone? I actually have no idea. I don't know how people train character AIs. Like, I don't know if there's like training data or if it's just like one of those things like with ChatGPT. You know what ChatGPT where you can be like, hey, can you pretend to be like the circus ringmaster who's 7 years old and then you type in a whole life story and then it like role plays that for you? I don't know if it's more like that, but does the rude egg woman say, I'm going to sleep and then I am awake instead of awak and slept? I don't know. Again, I just saw that it existed. I didn't talk to it that much. But yeah, I mean, I would prefer if people don't make AIs of me, but I don't know. Rude egg woman can stay because, you know, it's rude egg woman. Rude egg woman. This egg used a relative pronoun correctly? Chat GPT. Yeah, well, it's just like, I don't know. And it's the fact that, like, they don't really have any way of, like, properly checking. Because it's like, you know how they've tried to make the AIs that check for if something was written with AI, and it turns out that's not a thing you can do. So, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just glad I don't really have to think about that right now. I mean, I'm sure I will in the future. I don't know. I don't know, because like I remember my previous job too. I had people who would use ChatGPT to write emails, and like I don't know, maybe it's a lack of confidence. Because like personally, when I write emails, I feel like I'm confident enough in my own writing that I'm getting things across clearly and concisely. I feel like, and you know, and professional sounding. Like I feel like I'm confident enough in my own writing that like I don't feel the need to like ask a machine to do it for me. But I don't know. Maybe it's more of an issue of confidence than it is of like actual like. I feel like it's not that people can't write. I feel it's just that people don't have confidence in their own writing. You know. Hard to predict. Unpredictable egg. But yeah. Like skill issue? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's even skill issue. It's just like confidence issue, I think. Because there's a lot of people who like write perfectly fine emails, but like they still started using ChatGPT for that. And I don't know why. Like, people just use ChatGPT to let them write the table of contents and suggested summary. No, but I'm not even talking for academic stuff. I'm talking about for like work emails. I don't know. I don't understand the people who are like, oh yeah, you can use an AI to summarize your emails and also to write them. And I'm like, okay, at that point, what's the point? What's the point at that point? Like, the emails have a purpose. Like, this isn't like a ritual here. Like, the emails have a purpose. You send an email to get a message to somebody so that they are aware of the necessary information. And then they reply to you to either provide more information or to, you know, to tell you, you know, to like at least confirm that they received the first information. Like, this isn't like, again, there's a point to this. There's a functional point to all this. Yeah, the funny thing is that if everyone uses AI to write emails, it becomes two machines indirectly talking to each other. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? Like, I mean, at that point, it just becomes like a ritual. You're not doing this for like practical reasons. You're doing this because somebody somewhere said that you should write emails. You know? Like, it's faster to use ChatGPT. You know, I'll have you know that I can also write rather quickly. I too can write emails quickly. And like, even with emails, it was a lot of things I would like run through my manager first, just because I'm like, okay, is the wording of this okay? Or is this, do you think this will come off with something that, you know, we didn't intend to imply? Yeah, like, I feel like if you rely on AI for that, then I feel like that you're more likely to come up against stuff that is bad. Yeah. Paper trail, yeah. Get paid to click button in the email client. Yeah, like, again, what if you're using a machine to write emails and the person on the other end is using machine to read them, again, what is the point? What is the point? But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know. I'm like, is writing things without AI, I'm like, is that going to become old-fashioned, or is that going to become like a skill in the future where I'm like, oh yes, I can do this without any assistance. I can write a whole email on my own. I'm like, is this going to become a skill, or is this going to become outdated, you know? Like, I don't know. It's hard to say at this point. But I think I'm getting hungry. I think I want to eat lunch. So I think maybe this might be a good place to end the stream. Yeah. 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 I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna finish up the stream. I'm gonna finish up the stream. I know in the thumbnail I'm wearing the Got Out of Bed award, and yet throughout this entire stream I have been in the bed the whole time. I've been in the bed the whole time. Yeah. I will have to get out of bed. I will have to get out of bed. But, yeah. 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 So, today's Friday. Today's Friday. It's been a weird week. I think maybe because I had, like, an interview on Wednesday. And that, like, threw off my entire week. Because, like, for some reason on Wednesday, I thought it was Thursday. So I came back on Wednesday evening and I was like, okay, I need to prepare for stream tomorrow. And then I'm like, wait, there is no stream tomorrow. What am I saying? Like, yeah. So, thanks for stream, Miss NiceEggy. Thank you for being here. Yeah, so I will be back on Twitch on Sunday with Majora's Mask, where we will actually do the temple this time. And then, what else? What else is happening this week? Zhong on Monday. Something or another on Tuesday. Oh, wait, no, more Ib. I'm gonna, I'll probably finish Ib this week, actually. because I know we got about halfway last week, so I'll probably do more IB this week. And then yeah, then next Friday is YouTube. It's YouTube. It's YouTube. It's YouTube. But yep, so normal week, very normal week. Unless something explodes, then, you know, it's normal week. So, in the meantime, thank you for being here. Thank you for being nice and good. Thank you for watching. And I will see you on Sunday on Twitch. And look at my cool end card, which is somewhere in this list here. Here it is. One last subject if you can. What about your 2.5D event? How are things going? Ah, yes, I should probably talk about that. I meant to talk about it earlier, and then it never came up. So, I will probably have to say this again in a Twitch stream, because I feel like people are probably going to ask about it there too. So, 2.5D event. I am performing at Oshi Konbini, which is happening in Toronto on April 6th, I believe. Yeah, April. So I will be performing there in person, live. So I'm dipping my toes. I'm dipping my toes a little bit into becoming 2.5D idol. So some people ask what that means. So 2.5D has become kind of a term people use for when they do both VTubing and IRL stuff under the same, under the same identity, right? So like Phoebe is a good example of someone who's doing that, where she will perform at things live, but she also does VTubing for streams. So as for me, on the internet, I plan to continue being mainly a VTuber. I will likely only be like a live performer for like live events, and only if it's more practical, right? So like live events that I can reasonably get to, you know? But yeah, I just want to dip my toes into it, because one thing I found with VTubing as for performing is that like I like being able to see the reactions in real time of people in the audience, which I find is a little difficult to do when you're streaming, right? Like, I feel like, I mean, some events have it in a way that, like, you can see the audience as you're performing, but not all of them do. You know, it can sometimes be a little tough to set up. So, I like to be able to, you know, I like the feedback. I like audience feedback. So that's kind of the main reason why I was like, you know what, maybe if I just, you know, became live action Eggy. But yeah, so I will probably, I don't plan to become an IRL streamer or anything. I will remain mostly VTubing, but you know, have to pull out my flesh body for live performances. So that would probably be it. Yeah, that's about. But yes, please come if you are in the area. It is a small event, and it will be. I am one of many performers, so it's not like a full concert. But I do want to dip my toes in a little bit. So, yeah, I guess the venue would need to set up a camera for you, kind of like video chat. Yeah. Some venues can. The main issue is often audio, because the thing is that like if you are performing, right, and your voice is blaring out of the speaker, then the mic, there's going to be a delay between that, and basically there's no way to hear what the audience is doing. So if the audience is cheering, you can maybe visually see that, like, you know, they're like shaking their pen lights around, but you know, it can be a little tough to actually like, you know, like actually see that, you know? So, yeah, I realize I'm like, you know what, I like performing. I feel like performing like virtually, it can be fun. It can feel, but like, and it's good, it's convenient, like, you know, if it's at an event that's like very far away, that's like further than you can reasonably travel, but it does feel a little isolating, you know? I've done it once, and it feels very isolating. So that's why I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think I want to try performing in real life. Unfortunately, that involves trying to learn to dance a little bit, but you know, hopefully I will improve at that over time. So yes, thank you for reminding me about mentioning that. I'll probably mention it in my next Twitch stream, because I know there will definitely be people asking about it. But yes. I will, there will be more information, yes. So, until then, for real, I'm ending the stream. I'm actually ending the stream, for real this time. You are actually going to see my end card. You're actually going to see the cool end card. For real this time. For real. For real. Actually. Look, I'm gonna do it now. Thank you. Would you perform digitally at cons that you attend always choose 2.5D? It depends on the event. So, if it's an event that's, like, super far away, or that, like, I cannot reasonably travel to get to, I would probably do it virtually. But if it's something that I can reasonably get to without spending $1 bajillion to be there, or if they're, like, you know, if I'm ever important enough that they will offer to pay to do it, then I would probably show up live. But, yeah, again, case-by-case basis. I'm ending the stream for real now. No more questions. We are not taking any more questions. Goodbye. Thank you for being here. Look at my cool end card. Goodbye.